The lady was asked if she was ready. The main character, Vasilisa Rose Caltagnas. She is the only princess of this empire. Today she will dance in honor of the gods. On this stage, with the only partner she chose, she must do whatever it takes to survive. She had seen, read, and discarded countless existing options to get here, but she is not sure that this man is really the right choice, and whether she will be able to survive. She didn't understand how her life had turned out this way. 4 years ago, she was 16 years old. The woman ran everywhere and looked for Vasilisa. She has no freedom at all in this life, so she is a little upset about it. In a past life, being a princess wearing a dress was just a dream. However, as I grew older, a secure position as a civil servant became a natural dream. A girl who was very drunk asked her what her dream was. She didn't dream of a mystical journey in search of the ring or other blockbusters shown on TV. She was such a realistic person. She died in the previous world and was never able to find peace. The world she reincarnated in was completely different from Seoul. Just like the country in the book she read, 10-year-old Vasilisa was irritated by the compulsory lesson because it was so boring. Well, she decided to listen, but it was still useless. She noticed that the name of the prince of the neighboring country was Slurinian, and the crown prince of their country was Castor. Then the lady realized that she seemed to have seen these names in a book, and the title of this book was Rasbella's Radiance, a love story between a wise and prudent girl and a crown prince who will become a brilliant ruler. Faced with the difference in status, the lovers flee to a neighboring country and fall at the feet of the emperor. At this time, the emperor of the neighboring country was the antagonist and second male character, the tyrant Castor. At first, Castor ridiculed the main characters, but soon he fell in love and confessed his feelings to the main character. Either way, Rasbella refused. Castor lost love, becoming a mad attachment. As a result, the empire got involved in a huge war. The entire imperial family died, and the country disappeared forever. Vasilisa couldn't believe that she had become an extra, and she believed that this meant that if things continued like this, she would die. Everyone around her, including herself, were extras in the book, and she had only one way to survive. She had to escape. She had to learn a foreign language and take the jewels. From that day on, she carefully thought out her escape plan. On the one hand, she still can't believe it, but it's true that she was reborn in the novel, that pain was real, and she had childhood constipation. The princess told Hannah that she was up here. The woman said that she had been looking for her for so long, and that the princess should not walk around in just her underwear. Vasilisa didn't understand what kind of underwear it was. It actually looked like a simple and light dress. Hannah asked the princess where she had disappeared to and why she had climbed to such a dangerous place. Vasilisa asked her to ask one question and said that she wanted to go see Hans, who was guarding the gate. They say he's handsome. Hannah couldn't help but agree, but she was just shocked by what was happening. Vasilisa knew it. The scar was still there. She was reborn as a beautiful girl, but the scar on her cheek was a flaw. The palace physician said that it would never heal, which is why she was abandoned in this palace. The lady asked Hannah not to cry because they say tears make you cry faster. The maid asked her not to speak in such an inappropriate manner, since she was still only 15 years old. In any case, she has enough of everything in her life now. If the plan comes to power, then she will be able to live the rest of her life peacefully. Until now, she thought it was impossible. Hannah was shocked that the mistress wanted to help her with cleaning. She didn't understand how she could dissuade the princess. Vasilisa said that everything would be fine because it was a general cleaning, and the woman said that they would clean up here together. Then it was a bit chilly here. Hannah noticed that this room had not been cleaned for a long time, and she assumed that the princess was here for the first time. Lady Alicia lived in this room. The girl remembered the concubine Aeolesia. She was the biological mother who gave birth to her. As soon as she was born, she handed her over to the nannies and servants who helped and raised her, and she herself left for the capital. The scheming woman was now known as the villain. Hannah told the princess to clean out the bookshelves. In the meantime, she'll quickly go get some cleaning tools. Vasilisa froze when she noticed the book. She wondered what it could be about. It looked like a diary, but there was nothing written in it, so she decided to close it. After that, there was a flash of light, and she was shocked that the diary was glowing. The letters just appeared here, 821 month of Habermaya, 3rd day. The lady realized that it was today's date. She was cleaning her mother's room with the maid. Suddenly, she found this diary, and apparently her mother left it, so she thought she could use it. Vasilisa decided that from today on she will keep a diary. Take that what happened today is written there, and this situation is also written here. 821. Hibermia the fourth today. She received a tea book as a gift from her brother Fleon. 821. Behold the month of Hibermia the sixth. She was seeing off her brother Dane and fell. They scolded her apparently because she wore a light green dress. In the year 721, the month of Hibermia, the 7th, 8th, 9th. After 7 days, the last entry is about the 10th number. The maid ran to the princess and shouted that something bad had happened. The first prince had arrived. She was shocked with you that he knows her first prince Castor Decisive. He is a cruel tyrant from the book who has killed countless people. The last entry in the diary warned of great danger. She will die at his hands. The month of Hibermia the 10th. The first prince whom she had never seen came. He told the princess that he would now ask 3 questions on which her life would depend. Based on her answer, he will decide whether she is worthy of being part of the imperial family. The first thing he asked her was what their empire meant to her. He also asked what she thought about the emperor and what he meant to her. As soon as the questions were over, the first prince smiled beautifully, and then he killed her. Hibermia's month the 4th, yesterday. She picked up this strange diary. And it wasn't a dream, so she's not sure if what's written here is true. Is it clear that yesterday's events are accurately described in it? If this diary is to be believed, she will die even earlier than she thought. And it turns out that no matter what she does, her destiny is death. Well, the girl decided that she shouldn't think so pessimistically. First, she needs to do something. The information I have is enough. Hibermia, month 5th. First, we need to find someone who might know something about this mysterious diary. Probably the priest should know. She then disguised herself as a maid. Priests are beings who have received the blessing of a god, and they have special powers. The 4th Prince Amor was like that, and Amor was also close to Castor. Suddenly, she froze as she heard someone talking about the rumors about the princess. They say there's something wrong with her face. She's afraid to show herself, even in front of her close ones. She had a nasty character, and it even got to the point where she beat up new maids. The mistress was shocked by this. That's probably why she doesn't appear in social circles. The 4th prince doesn't attend social events either. He's also sick. For some reason, during meals, he always calls the young maids. The new maids are afraid of him, because being in the same room, they can also get infected. Suddenly, water splashed on them. The head maid shouted that they should not gossip while working. The woman asked the girl for forgiveness, because she believed that she was scared because she screamed loudly. The princess said that everything was fine, and remarked that she was so tall. She remarked that she was a washerwoman in the palace of the 4th prince, and asked what her job was. The lady almost said her name. She introduced herself to Asi, but she didn't say that she was a new servant in the princess's palace. She believed that the girl had gotten hurt before she arrived here, and asked if the rumors about the princess were true. She said that she is a water shield, and apparently, this is the first time she has encountered this. And this is the first time she has been in a laundromat. The girl noticed that she was simply lost. She thought, since she is here for the first time, and then she wants to give her advice. Well, anyway, she will notice a man with my hair. Then she should avoid him and not mix with him. The dark hair meant she was talking about Castor. She noted that all the careless newcomers died at his hands, so I hoped that she would be safe. It's just amazing, so she needs to be more careful not to meet Castor. This is the 4th prince's palace. She came here thinking that she would be able to find out something right away. Music, she doesn't understand what to do now. And asked what she is doing there. She didn't understand what to do. That she was a servant working in the kitchen. Spurbank was in a hurry, so it was very good that she met her. And in general, another maid should have done this. Unfortunately, she fell ill during her shift, which is very strange. She should go to the 4th prince's restroom. The woman asked her if she liked it, and noted that taking care of food for a noble man is an important job. The girl said that it was not like that at all, and she liked everything. She could not believe that it happened. In fact, Risbella's Shining was a harem novel until the middle. There were countless men in Caltania who had feelings for Risbella, and Amor is a minor character. One of them was the 4th prince, Amor Note Caltanias. A man than tender love came and went as a vivid example of weakness, a sincerely in love person. Of course, he was the kindest and most gentle man who loved Risbella. He died of illness, Vasilisa was curious how sick he was. She was allowed to enter, and before her was the prince. The lady could not believe that this was the same sincere and kind man who looked like a faithful dog. She couldn't believe that they were talking about him, that he was the human embodiment of the last leaf. But she didn't understand why there was some kind of wild lynx in front of him. The prince asked her what she was staring at, because it irritated him. If the last leaf on the tree turns into a man, it will be Amr. The prince was irritated because she was staring at him like that while he was eating. She thought he wanted to tell her to lower her eyes in a nice way, so the girl decided to listen to him. She thought that, about the last leaf, it was all a lie. The prince smiled and noted that in order not to have to apologize, I had to do stupid things. This man is ready to give up all his commas for the happiness of his beloved woman while constantly being ill. Well, now it seems like he's going to ask her how he's worse than that bastard. Amor came to ask her what her name was. She said that her name was N, and that she was serving the prince for the first time. He noticed that she looked very young, and she was so calm when she spoke, as if she were not a servant. Usually looking at it they cry, or they are simply afraid of it, or afraid of getting infected. The lady decided to ask him if he really suffered from various diseases. Now that's it. It's not contagious. Sometimes, polite people wanting to support him told him not to get sick. They looked at him with pity and shamelessness, and of course, they were punished for such arrogance. She thought he was so sensitive because he was sick, but he was just like a child. The girl said that she didn't think anyone was pathetic because they were sick, and she assures him that the maids think the same. The master asked if she says that being sick does not mean being unhappy. Amor did not understand why she was so sure of this. The lady said that she knew from her own experience, and that the prince would also learn about it someday, because he is a good man. The prince noticed that she was saying rather funny things and smiled sweetly at her. Everyone is trying to please him, but she is the first one who talks to him so simply, so he congratulates her. This young face, the color of these eyes, are very familiar to him. The gentleman said that since she was able to amuse him, he would fulfill one of her requests. The girl realized that she couldn't let go of such an opportunity, and said that she really did have a request. "Hello!" I wanted her to stop dragging it out. Vasilisa decided that she simply had nothing to lose. She noted that this was a bold request, but she wanted to know about His Majesty the Emperor. The prince was surprised that she wanted to know about his brother, and remarked that it was a rather unexpected question. He will tell her a famous story about his brother, about what happened to the high-ranking priestess who confessed her love to her brother. The girl said she knew that, but there was probably another side to him. Basically, I noted that he doesn't even know. And in his opinion, he doesn't have any other sides. His brother is ruthless, and the fact that the palace is short-staffed is also due to his whims. He hates betrayal and believes that everyone is capable of it, and he prefers unnecessary, interesting things. And he hates it when people talk about him behind his back. He'll tell her this, risking his life. Vasilisa understood that if this conversation reached the tyrant's ears, she would die. Amor hoped that she was grateful, and the lady noticed that she thanked him for telling her. He noticed that she said her name was N, and she noticed that he was curious about something too. She had something taped to her face, and he assumed she was hurt. He asked if she was in pain, and asked if he could help her with anything. Vasilisa said that everything was fine. The guy said that she could go now because she was probably late. He will tell her a shortcut, only he knows this road. She is special, but she needs to hurry. The girl did not understand where she had to hurry. Amor said that in the west, at the very end. After all, the princess's palace was quite far away. He was having fun, so he asked her to come to him again sometime, and they could have more fun. If there is a next time at all, she is the only princess of this country. And of course, Amor knows about her, so she shouldn't be surprised by a map with a shortcut to her palace. She wanted to calm down because nothing special had happened, and besides, she had more important things to do. She couldn't believe that this map was really true. At first, she decided to go, but she heard someone's voice. She intuitively understood who it was. The man with black hair asked if she was a maid. This man is Castor, the same tyrant from the book. The lady met him purely by chance, and was very scared when she realized who he was. She tried to calm down, to appear more composed. She asked for forgiveness from His Highness, and bowed. Since she encountered the crown prince as a servant, she should start with an apology. In that case, she needed to leave quickly, so she started running away. The gentleman who was next to him noticed that she had run away. He was surprised because it was the first time the maid recognized him in these clothes. This is Count Hernandez Jersel de Volo, escort of the Crown Prince Castor. Castor now looks and dresses like a junior prosecutor. The prince did not think that she recognized him, and believed that it was probably she who recognized the count. The gentleman noted that this was possible, and besides, few of the staff knew Castor by sight, because most of them were dying. He became curious about something, but he decided that they should just move on. But there was something sarcastic in his gaze. Vasilisa could hardly catch her breath, and she almost went crazy. It's good that there is no one here. She was really scared and didn't understand why she came there. It wasn't fair. She didn't understand how that could happen. She is given 7 days to survive, but she does not understand where it was seen that the strongest character appeared from the very beginning. If they had warned her about the murder, they could have at least given her a hint on how to survive. Castor probably didn't remember her face, and he wondered where she was. The girl understood that, if she stayed any longer, the palace would close. She walked as she was told, but there was nowhere else to go. In that direction was a forbidden forest. And suddenly, she came across something very strange and did not understand what it was at all. She didn't even know what kind of curved letters these were, and decided to take a closer look. She thought that it might be a sacred language, and that made her freeze. It was very difficult for her to read, because she only understood fragments, all because she learned only 16 words of the sacred language. Well, the further you read, the easier it is, and she will be able to read it. It is written there, "Come to me in the wind. He is the spring wind, the growing seeds of the west wind. He, the lover of man, the controller of the winds, Zephyrius." And suddenly a strong wind arose. Vasilisa did not understand what was happening at all. She screamed, but then the wind let her go. Her head hurt a lot, and she didn't understand what had happened. And when she looked, she realized that her palace of Tyrant was there. This plate simply teleported her through the forbidden forest, and she is shocked that this happened because she didn't think that there was such a thing in the forest. At first, she decided to return home, but suddenly she heard a chirp. This meaning was lost, so the bird quickly flew away from this place. Hannah scolded her a lot. They say she came back late. She said she didn't even know how worried she was, and she just left of her own free will, and all her hair was in disarray, and she couldn't find a place for herself. The princess treats her so badly every time. 821 month of Habermaya 5th. While walking, she saw a beautiful white bird. She asked Hannah if she knew the name of the bird, but she just shook her head. Hannah said that she had often seen cats, but this was the first time she had seen a bird like this. Perhaps she came from the forbidden forest in the west. The lady decided to draw her. Vasilisa did not do what was in the diary. The content did not change at all. She even left the palace and thought that if you try, you can change anything. But this is not true at all. Amor Barma also noted that it was strange that his brother did not kill that girl when he met her. Meanwhile, when the lady was sleeping, her diary began to glow. Hibernia, month 6th, day 4 days before the day of the D. The lady wondered there what kind of slab it was. A device filled with the power of a god. This wasn't in the diary instead. It talks about a white bird, but she didn't see it. She can't understand at all what rules it works by. She asked how many days were left and found out that it was 4 days. She didn't even know what else she needed to do. And suddenly, she saw that there was a continuation in the diary. When asked what the empire meant to her, the girl replied that it was the country where she was born, and the land to which she would dedicate herself until her death. By marrying the man chosen for her by His Highness, she will contribute to the development of the country. This scene had not happened before, so the lady did not understand why this happened, and the canvas that it was, because of this, that she met with Amr, or because she used a stone slab. Vasilisa did not understand what the reason was, and thought that all her efforts were in vain. Suddenly, someone knocked on her door and said that there would be a lesson soon, so the maid would like to help her with the preparations. The lady agreed that Hannah would prepare everything. True, first she needed to know about the power of the stone slab. Vasilisa raised her hand and told the teacher that she had one question. The teacher was in complete shock and could not believe that the princess was saying this. A boy in the class laughed and told the teacher that she looked very honest. "This is Fleon Clash, Kaltanhas, the 6th prince." Vasilisa said that she knew perfectly well what kind of image she had in the eyes of the teacher. The guy continued to laugh. The lady knows that in the abandoned territory of the palace, there is a device filled with the power of God, and asked if this is true. And so the girl said that she would also like to try using it. That is, teleportation would also be nice. The teacher thought about it and noted that with Zephyrus's device, this was also possible. He was the god of the west wind after all. The girl asked if it was possible if there was just a device. Well, the teacher said that unfortunately it is not possible now. Vasilisa asked why this was so. The teacher said that a priest was needed to create a device with the power of a god. However, there are no more wind priests in their empire, meaning they cannot use it. Vasilisa didn't understand how she was able to use it then. The teacher noted that even without the priest, the wind that is the force made possible what she said. The power of the god's air, which only the emperor and the crown prince possess. With this power, one can use the device of the wind gods. After all, this is the power that dominates the powers of all gods, with which everything is possible, the power of the air of God. Until now, she had nothing that could be called a special power. But suddenly, she had such enormous power, and the girl could not believe that it was because of the diary. The maid informed the master that she had prepared food. Castor stood up. When he tried it, he immediately threw it away, and the maid began to tremble with fear because of it. The gentleman noted that his father was doing the same thing again, but now he could not be killed with poison. He ordered this servant to be taken away, but she screamed so much that it was completely unfair. She swore that it was not so, and that it was not she who did it, but the prince did not even intend to listen to her. Through the soldiers of the valets, this time through the servant. When he looked out the window, he remembered the girl. He turned to Hernan and smiled. He remarked that he would soon go to the princess's palace. It was all because he wanted to see a fun celebration. The guy didn't expect Vasilisa to want to teleport. This is Dane Lowell Kaltanas, the seventh prince. Vasilisa told him not to be surprised. She was just thinking what it would be like to teleport to the classroom in an instant. The guy noticed that this is the most real, incomparable laziness, worthy of a princess. This is Lay Escort Asili Dane and Fleona. Vasilisa asked if this knight could be shut up a little. Dane woke up and noted that, apparently, this is something that even Fleon cannot do. If he were not a close knight, it would be different. Dane said that what was more important was that he was going to visit relatives tomorrow, so he asked if everything would be okay with her. Vasilisa asked if he was talking about relatives from the east. She asked how long he was going, and the guy said about a week. When Vasilisa heard about this, it was possible that she would no longer be alive by that time. So maybe this is the last time they sit opposite each other like this. Dane noticed that she hadn't worn the luxurious color in a long time. She didn't seem to wear red. Vasilisa asked if she looked strange, but the guy said that it was because she didn't at all, and he looked so beautiful that he couldn't even look away. Dane thinks it really suits her, so he smiled at her. He was embarrassing her, so she asked him to stop. The lady did not understand what it was, that the extras were more beautiful than the main characters. She asked her brother if he could skip the scientific conference today, or whatever it was. Dane said that the elder brother went. So everything is fine, that the week 6th, that the 7th one person will be enough. The rain had stopped, so they were glad Dane walked behind his sister, and she remembered how she said that she would also like to try teleportation. It was the first time he said that it was very stuffy in the palace. In principle, she noted that it would be great if she did not leave the palace for a long time, and it would be comfortable there. It's so cold outside, Vasilisa turned to him and asked again. She twisted her legs so she got tangled and almost fell, but her brother managed to catch her. Dane asked if everything was okay, and the girl smiled and said that everything was fine. The guy thought she had twisted her ankle, but the girl said that it was not so, and everything was fine. Dane asked your sister how to forget because her back is torn. Vasilisa turned back and asked again. She did not understand what he was talking about. 821 month of Hebermaya, 6th day. She was seeing off her little brother Dane and fell. It was raining and her dress was torn indecently. Apparently, she had made the light green dress in advance and knew she shouldn't have worn it. She was so excited simply because the diary content was added, and it didn't change anything for the future. There is no point in wearing a dress of a different color. You need to do something that will have a greater impact on the plot. The maids were surprised that the mistress had already arrived, but she was heading off somewhere with quick steps. After this, Vasilisa opened the doors and realized that she had not yet gotten rid of the predicted future. She needs to find Amor. She doesn't think he'll have no choice but to help her. Until the future changes, she will not allow herself to suffer. The Forbidden Forest is a forest that only the emperor or the crown prince can enter. Rumor has it that if the giant guard does not recognize a person, he will never be able to return back. Although there were such rumors last time, nothing happened to her except teleportation. So she believed that she really did have an heir, a huge guard who lets only the emperor and his heir through. If the guard recognizes a person, he is dead. The dogs started attacking her, and the lady didn't understand at all what it was. She had heard about them, that they existed. Enormous guardians of the Forbidden Forest. Vasilisa climbed a tree because of this. She couldn't believe that it was them. She was very scared, and she did not understand who had released such dangerous zverefs. So she tried to hold on to the tree tighter. The knight found himself right next to her on a nearby branch and asked the lady what she was doing there. Vasilisa asked the lord since when he had been here. The gentleman said that since the princess had been chased by dogs. This is his refuge. The lady was indignant and noted that he was simply observing. He noticed that she had already cleverly taken it, even before he had time to intervene, and he was simply surprised. And that was all. When he looked at the dogs, they shuddered and ran away. The lord jumped down from the tree and asked the lady to climb down too. Vasilisa asked if he was saying that he would catch her, and she wouldn't fall. Lee said that of course he would catch her, and that he wasn't joking and didn't forget about her safety. When the lady jumped down, he grabbed her tightly. Perhaps it is because he is a knight who has been with her since childhood. She talks about how strong he is. Again that face pretending he is the best. She remembered that when she was little, she had told Lord Lay that she had found some bug in the form of a caterpillar. He wondered why the lady was here looking like this, but she had been doing what she wanted since early childhood. He also asked her not to make him worry too much and wished her a good walk. Vasilisa was shocked that he wouldn't ask where she was going. Lay noted that even if he did ask, he thought she wouldn't answer. When she makes a decision that she can't talk about, she always has this face. He put a good luck charm on her because it was his treasure and asked her to be careful and return safely. He was always like this, so she smiled at him and said she would be back soon. Lee, meanwhile, said that he would deal with the rest of the dogs so that the journey home would be safe. The girl said that she was a servant from the princess's palace and had come to convey the princess's words to the prince. The prince didn't think she would come again. She's alive. The girl noticed that he spoke as if he hoped she would die. After this, Vasilisa smiled and said that she needed to tell him something. And this surprised the gentleman. First, she apologizes for such an outfit. The girl let her hair down and took off her headband. Vasilisa said that she thought she should introduce herself again. And on the 8th child of His Majesty the Emperor, Princess Vasilisa Rose Caltagnas. Last time she was tactless with her brother. He was surprised that she had now stopped playing the maid. Vasilisa confirmed this, and the guy asked why she decided to open up. The girl didn't know what to say, and noted that he was going to kill her first. He knew that they were deliberately sending her along the road that His Majesty the Crown Prince would be walking along. It's different from their first meeting, since she's gotten this far. She has to fight face to face. She has to actively use what she knows. Like this guy's secrets. Amor's first secret. She knows that plants are his eyes and ears. It can be said that, thanks to this ability, he watched her die. He hears sounds from all plants and can control them. Vasilisa asked him to help her because she would die in 3 days. Crown Prince the elder brother will kill her, but the guy asked her to provide evidence. The lady said that she didn't have them. Now Amor asked if she had come to baselessly accuse someone. Vasilisa noted that he had no other choice but to believe her. After all, she told what he brother hid from everyone for a long time. Amor note, Caltagnas. In fact, he is the only inhabitant of the god of the earth, Tellus. This is a god from ancient Roman mythology. He can use all poisons and medicines. All plants follow him. Afterwards, he became the most powerful priest in the empire after Castors, but he died early due to illness. The gentleman asked how she knew about it. It's funny he was already starting to lose his composure. But she has something else. Vasilisa turned to her brother and noted that he was taking medicine. Amor was simply horrified and began to ask where she knew all this. He was never terminally ill. Castor poisoned Amor in his childhood. He showed him the antidote and told him that he would die if he did not take it every day. The emperor made him like this, and through Castor he passed on the medicine. Amor said that she couldn't know, he was just used. And even the main character rejected him. The most pitiful man, Vasilisa noted, that she did not think that he would get angry so easily, and asked if he hated the crown prince. He tied her up with plants, and said that the princess was very impudent and he could kill her right there. So he asked her not to provoke him, but rather to say what she wanted. I told her everything she said nonsense, so he asked what else she knew. Amor is shaking. The lady understood that he was afraid, because if the secret she was talking about came out, he would also die. She offered him a deal. If he would help her, she would help him in return. Amor asked how this would happen. Vasilisa noted that, for example, the disease he suffered from, she could cure it. The guy told her not to make him laugh, because even he couldn't cure it, and asked if she thought it was even possible. Vasilisa confidently replied that she would cure him and could even swear on her life. Her determination filled the room. In about 4 years, a very valuable medicine would appear, and Risbella would be able to meet the creator of this medicine. It was a promise full of hope. Then she will go with her, and will be able to get it too. If Vasilisa survives, she will be able to cure the disease with this medicine. The girl turned to her brother and said that she knew the fear of an uncertain death well and felt it right now. Her eyes reflected horror. So they will be great allies like no other. This was their common path. The prince remarked that it was funny and added that he didn't believe a word she said. His distrust was like a curtain between them. He has too many doubts to make a decision right now, but he will believe in one thing. After that, when she leaves, he will watch her. Her every step will be in his hands. If they became colleagues, they would start with this. He suggested that they get to know each other. Vasilisa's pain disappeared. Amor told his sister to be careful, because if she lied to him, he wouldn't let it go that easily. Vasilisa tried to tell him that she was not lying, and then noted that one way or another, she was asking him to protect her. Amor asked if she was asking him to be her shield, and added that he would think about it. He assumed that she would return through the forbidden forest. This is a seed that drives away beasts. It will drive the guards out of the forest. This counts as a promise not to kill her this time. After that, they said goodbye. Vasilisa decided that if this was the case, then everything would be fine. Habermaya month 7th day night. The lady understood that she had 3 days left, and today had not brought her anything special. Even searched the entire library. She didn't find any clues. Only the teacher scolded her because she was making a mess again. Hannah noticed that she was sitting up late today and thought that the lady might have insomnia, but Vasilisa said that it was not so, and there was nothing terrible about it. It was already past midnight. The maid asked her to wash up quickly and go to bed. The princess understood her. She had already decided to accept her brother's help, and now there was only one thing left to do. Suddenly, the princess jumped up and started walking somewhere. New information appeared in the diary, warning that Amor would die right now. She didn't understand why she was trapped in a cycle that lasted 7 days, but it didn't seem like she was the only one stuck here. 821. The 8th day of Habermaya. Most likely the 4th prince died during the night. She couldn't believe it when they told her they found his cold body in the morning. They said it was poison. He shouldn't have drunk that tea. The lady did not understand why the corridor was so empty, and decided that she could not think about it right now. Even if this world was created for the protagonist, she just wanted her life to be peaceful. But Vasilisa is surprised why reality is always so cruel. Why Amor's character is so different from the original novel also remains a mystery. The lady did not understand how she should act in this situation in order to survive. But now the most important thing is that both she and Amor survive, so she burst into his room. If he died like that, she would be very sorry, and it would be too sad. The culprit of the poisoning was the maid of the palace of Tyrant. Her yellow and elder brother, the 4th principal, believed the maid and died. That's what Brother Dane said. If someone had found his body earlier that night, he wouldn't have died. The gentleman did not understand why she entered his room, and immediately began to cough, and also asked her not to come near. If he drank it, he would die, so she didn't understand why he had to die tonight. Perhaps because of the meeting with her, Vasilisa noted that he knew she would come. If he didn't want her to come in, the plant would have blocked the entrance. The lady asked if he liked tea, and the prince was shocked with you that she said that after suddenly appearing. The lady said that he cannot drink it even if he likes it, because if he drinks it, he'll die. He looks like he doesn't believe her. Of course, it's hard to believe. Amor said that he did not understand why she had come here to tell him this. If that's all she's going to say, it's nonsense and she'd better leave. Vasilisa shouted that he probably couldn't believe her, but asked him to listen to her and not drink it. The prince had already told her to leave, but Vasilisa screamed that he didn't want to die. Vasilisa was wrong in such a situation. Her brother will not believe her. His fate turned out this way because he got involved with her, and she doesn't like it. But she doesn't understand why she should hesitate, because how she lives should depend only on her. Vasilisa said that she didn't want him to die, and promised that she would prove that it was true. The prince was furious and asked what she was doing, screaming at her to spit it out right now. His anger filled the room. The lady did not understand why he was acting like that, and suddenly blood started flowing from her mouth. It was so painful that she immediately fell to the floor. The guy didn't understand at all why she drank this tea. His face expressed a mixture of surprise and anxiety. Vasilisa said with difficulty that she didn't want him to die. He had to live. Every muscle in her screamed for it. She didn't want to believe that she would die this way. No, it was just a game. And it was her choice. She was ready for the consequences. Vasilisa herself will decide when she will die, so I wonder what the diary will do now, because she will die before the day when it predicted her death. She had a hunch why her dress had torn when she had put on another one. It was probably because it was meant to happen, as if fate itself had decreed it that way. And she must die too, but not today. That is, she cannot die on any other day until the content of the book changes. The maid noticed that the mistress had gotten up late today, and she thought that she had insomnia. Vasilisa was in complete shock and asked Hannah what day it was. The maid apologized and said that today was the 7th, although it was already filled, so it was the 8th. At the moment she died, to be honest. She believed that it would all end there, but everything happened as she thought. Life goes on. She wondered what would have happened if she had died earlier, the 10th day of Hibernia. Her thoughts were spinning and she felt lost. But she came back to life, so she told the maids that she would go out for a short while. She went back to the past, and now she must dominate time. She entered the prince's room again and asked him not to drink it. She must save him by right. She will have to be a real ally. She wondered who had tried to kill Amor. If the emperor and the crown prince were evil, we advised that taking his life would not have occurred to them. It would be more reasonable to think that this was a murder ordered by a higher power. Vasilisa approached him and asked her brother not to drink it. Amor didn't understand why she was talking about this and started coughing just like last time. He shouted again for her not to come near him, but the girl grabbed his hand. Vasilisa told him it was poison. She read Rospella's Light to the end. Since it's not the beginning yet, she won't let him die now, not when he becomes her ally. The gentleman said that he told her that he would follow her and thought that she had come all this way just to order this nonsense from him, so she should go back. If he is on her side, then she will survive too. And before that happens, she must help him. The girl said that she would drink the tea instead of him, and asked if that would be enough to convince him. If he were like himself in the novel, everything would be different. His kindness is sorely missed now. Then she relied on him to at least be her loyal ally. After that, he threw the cup on the floor. He grabbed her hand and started asking her what she was doing. The girl screamed that she wanted him to live. Vasilisa knew that her words could not be trusted, but he had to listen to her. She will make him believe her, even if it all ends in her death again. Vasilisa said that since she does not want him to die, she asks him not to die now. At first, the guy wanted to say something, but then she noticed that he didn't know what she was trying to tell him. Amor wondered if she knew something that was causing her to behave this way. Even if he doesn't believe her for now, it's enough he won't be able to drink from a broken cup. This time they survived. The gentleman asked if the thing she had on her neck was just an ornament. She came here without permission. It's 1 a.m. The girl said everything was fine, but he didn't understand why she was talking like that, as if she could do whatever she wanted. Amor said that she was seriously annoying him, although the day had just begun, so he asked her to come back, because it hurt him even to swear. He is as angry with me as she thought, and he did not even punish her. He asked her to disappear, but the lady asked for another minute. Vasilisa grabbed his hand and asked if she could come to him again during the day. There are only 2 days left until 10, so she needs help immediately. The prince said that now he understood, so she could just come to him during the day. Vasilisa asked if she could come today, but the guy agreed that she would only come tomorrow, and this gave her a little hope. She decided to agree because it meant that she had times. The 9th day of the month of Hibernia. She announced that she was here, and her voice sounded with a slight tremor, but with confidence. Amor was surprised because she really came, but he allowed her to enter, and this was the step towards rapprochement that she had been waiting for. He asked what she had brought, and trying to remain calm, the girl said that it was information about crazy tyrants in history, hoping that it would interest him. Vasilisa had to find a solution to survive today, because Castor would come and find her tomorrow. She couldn't let this day be her last. The lady said she thought she would get some answers if she kept looking through them. They were tough, but she worked hard to gather information that could help her. The prince shouted that it was all rubbish, but the girl tried to tell him that it was all her work. Amor noted that she wouldn't be able to survive if she just watched it. Vasilisa assured him that she had to do it by tomorrow, her eyes shining with hope, although despair was seething inside her. First, he didn't understand why she was so sure that he would come and kill her tomorrow, and this confusion made her think about her actions. But she knew about him, about his poisoned tea. This information made her heart beat faster. It was not just a guess, but knowledge that could save her. The girl really wanted him to give her information, not to mention that they weren't really like that. Now that he thinks about it, she always walks into the room of someone who isn't even related to her, as if it's no big deal. She was surprised that he was not related to her. It was as he had thought. She had not known it, and this realization suddenly became bitter. The gentleman remarked that they were almost strangers when they became adults, and the girl realized that this meant that he would not tell her anything. What's important is definitely not that submission. She must submit to him when she is in front of him no matter what. Although it should be useless if she becomes uninteresting to him, then he will become bored, and then he will not kill her. Amor said that she shouldn't even be touched, and it was a warning that she took to heart. Vasilisa understood him, and said that she thought she understood what he was talking about. So she asked him if he could help her with something. Amor decided to ask what else she needed, and there was a note of genuine interest in his voice. These are questions. She has 3 questions he is going to ask her, so he asks her to tell him what she should answer, so that he will see her as worthless. The prince did not understand why he had to do this, but when he saw her sweet face, he asked her to give it to him. He sat down to read them, and Vasilisa noted that he was probably going to do it anyway. Even before then, she was filled with hope. It only seemed that everything was fine. It didn't matter if she got hurt, the main thing was that she survived tomorrow. Well, she didn't know anything, then that was her biggest mistake. The 10th arrived. If the lady wants to go outside the imperial palace, she will be in trouble. Vasilisa thought that this was not a problem, and said that she wanted to see handsome guards. The woman tried to stop the princess, and when the girl looked at Hannah, she saw that she was about to burst into tears. Vasilisa said that she was just joking and sat down on the swing. The maid sighed calmly. The lady did not expect anything new on her last day, but she never thought she would die outside the palace. If she goes a little further, she could end up there, the place where the festival and Castor's engagement will take place in 2 years. There you can also catch a glimpse of the imperial capital, where the priests and the imperial family live. She so wanted to see it all with her own eyes. Vasilisa turned to the maid and said that in the chair next to the nightstand, a small space could be found if the seat was lifted. She keeps a lot of jewelry there. The lady told her not to forget that her treasures are there. The maid did not understand why the princess told her about this. Vasilisa still does not know whether she will die or stay alive, but she wants Hannah to be happy and to live in abundance. I want only her, but also Sir Leigh Fleon and Dane and Amara. But suddenly, someone approached her and asked if she was the first Princess Vasilisa Rose Kaltanas. He informed her that he was here to deliver a letter from the 4th Prince, Amor Note Kaltanas. The lady was surprised, and then remembered that her brother had told her to wait for his answer. The man had said that he could not say anything about it. Well, he told him to deliver this letter as quickly as possible. She did not understand what it meant. The man said that if she wanted to answer His Highness, he would pass on the letter. Suddenly, another maid ran up to them and shouted that they were in trouble and told the princess to visit the palace. The time has come. The maid reported that His Highness the Crown Prince was looking for her. Vasilisa said that it was a great honor for her to greet the Crown Prince. The gentleman told her to raise her head. After that, he smiled and asked her name. The girl said that her name was Vasilisa Rose Kaltanas. He immediately remembered and noted that it just looked out of his head. The gentleman turned to Hernan and asked him if he thought she had grown into a beautiful young lady. The gentleman said he could not answer. The prince asked what he meant. Castor asked him to tell her, because he knew more about the princess than he did. Hernan only knows what is written on paper about her. The gentleman introduced himself as Castor de Caltanas and asked if she knew him. Vasilisa asked how, as a member of the royal family, she could not know about His Highness. Although they had never met, she had heard of him. Vasilisa is afraid of him, and this feeling paralyzes her. The gentleman, noticing her fear, said that he did not mean this, but his words did not bring peace. He wondered if she had ever seen him before. Vasilisa said she didn't understand what he was talking about, and her eyes reflected fear mixed with bewilderment. She was very scared, and her heart was pounding in her chest. The master pointed out that nothing could be done if she did not understand, and then he took hold of his sword, as if preparing for decisive action. Sasha, she wants to survive, and she didn't understand why this happened. Suddenly, he killed the maid with one swing, and this gesture was a shock for her, making her realize the seriousness of the situation. He caught Hannah, and her desperate gaze met hers, as if trying to convey her last words. Castor apologized because he should have been more careful with the blow, because the blood got on her, and it increased her fear even more. After that, he asked her if she remembered everything Alcer. His calm and stern voice sounded like a sentence such that it seemed as if he sang a line from a song that broke off on the most tense note. With that face, he looked at her as if waiting for a reaction. The prince noted that it was still not very fun to do this again, and her voice trembled with tension. Now he would give the verdict, and this time seemed like an eternity to her. The daughter of Iolesia's eighth concubine, Vasilisa Rosé Caltañas, a name that would now sound like a verdict. In the capacity of the one who will be charged with the care of the empire in the future, he accuses her of having an unlawful relationship with a priest of chaos, and these words sound like a bolt from the blue. Right before the princess's eyes, all her maids were being killed: Bess, Renee, Nanny. Their screams echoed in her mind, and it seemed to her that this was not happening to her. The lady did not want to believe that this was true, and thought that it was a dream, just a terrible dream, from which she was about to wake up, but reality turned out to be too cruel. She didn't understand what he said then, and who the god of chaos was, what he meant, who she was talking to now, and why exactly her. The prince asked her to look at him, because right now her life depended on the answer to 3 questions that he would ask her, and panic arose in her soul. So beautiful, attractive, and sweet, the prince will ask her 3 questions. 3 answers will prove her royal status, but her mind is like an empty shell, incapable of thinking. Amer spoke the answers to his questions, but she cannot remember them. She had to answer what the empire meant to her. Amer told her to answer that the empire was a state that she was bored with, so she would continue to serve this country for the rest of her life. As a princess, she will dedicate herself to the empire by marrying the man of His Highness's choice. The girl barely said that for her, the empire was a state that she was bored with, but she would serve for the good of this country for the rest. She repeated it 1,000 times, but the words stuck in her throat, as if an invisible barrier prevented them from breaking free. It wasn't even written in the diary, and so she doesn't understand why it is like that, because this state was completely new to her. Vasilisa is afraid, and she is very afraid, and this fear weighs on her like a heavy burden. In fact, he noted that he thought it was time for a second question. He wanted to know what she thought of the emperor, and the subject was clearly on his mind. Vasilisa didn't know if she could survive here in such a cruel world. Amor told her that the emperor was the one who gave her life, but the empire was also his child, which put her in a difficult position. The emperor is the most respected person in their society, and so she believes that one day His Highness will become no less a wonderful emperor as his title demands. Vasilisa began to stutter and say that he was a respected and great man, but her voice trembled, and she began to say that she was not sure, experiencing internal doubts. She had seen many deaths in movies, TV shows, and literature, and this created an illusion in her that such events could not happen in real life. She saw how heroes suffered from severe wounds and losses, and she could not get rid of this image, as if their pain was just a fantasy unrelated to her or to everyday concerns. People who were laughing loudly and chatting about everything in the morning are now dead. And Vasilisa doesn't understand why everything is happening this way. She just wanted to survive. And there was nothing reprehensible in this desire. Then the principal asked her what she thought of him. At last, her scream died down, and the world sank into silence. Her hopes were fading along with precious time, so she fell to her knees and begged him for mercy, realizing how important this moment was. Castor asked her if she thought he was wrong, and if she really thought so, then she should run away or hide, which caused her confusion. Having finished asking questions, the prince smiled and remarked that it was boring. She wants to live, and he wondered whether he should spare her at all. Leave her alone with the stinking corpses. If she wants to live, then it will be as she wants. He will allow the bodies to be piled up by her bed. Vasilisa screamed that she did not want to live, and then the prince said that, in that case, he had no choice and he would kill her. Vasilisa lay on her knees and screamed that she didn't want to die either. If she had a next life, she would want to live it differently. After this, Castor said goodbye to her, and then she died. Habermia, month 9th day, only a couple of drops touched the ground. She tried to pull herself together, because no one had died yet. Her brother came up to her and asked what she was doing because she was not a commoner. She is also the boss, so he asked why she was holding the shoes in her hands. This is her older brother Fleon. He is as handsome as ever. He asked if she laughs at him, and then he noticed that she was behaving recklessly because Dane was not here, and asked if she thought that she could do whatever she wanted, just because he was here. She was glad to see him again, but it was so tiresome to hear the same thing. He wanted to squeeze her cheeks, but she turned around and he was surprised. That's how it was last time. The brother noticed that she was a little brat and didn't understand when she became so nimble. The girl told him to stop himself. After Vasilisa suggested to return, and he was not against it, she returned for the 40th time. The first time she barely got over the horror she had experienced. She asked Hannah what day it was, and Hannah didn't understand why she was asking. She died so often, she never lived to see her last day. As heir to the throne, he will cleanse her of the sins she committed in honor of the accursed god. The damned Templar, of whom she knew nothing. The girl tried to question the servants when she was resurrected, but they knew no more than she did. In a life that was interrupted before its time, without the right to salvation and a painful death, giving a new, miserable life. No matter how many times she ran, hid, and still died, drowned, thrown off a cliff, she didn't even remember the last time. After the 6th death, she began to forget the pain and fear she had experienced. After 11, the rest of her feelings became dull, and she no longer cared. She herself asked him to kill her. At that moment, she realized that even she had some abilities. Despite what she had experienced, and the emptiness that had taken the place of horror, she was sane. The girl didn't even understand whether she was crazy or whether she actually possessed an amazing ability. No matter how much she dies, her mind is clear and calm. She doesn't want to freeze again like a statue, the death rattle of another maid. She doesn't want that, all because any delay will cost her life. Before it is too late, she must find a way out. It didn't take long, but she found a solution and realized that Amor was her salvation. 3 hours before meeting Amor, if you cry, beg, fall on your knees or at his feet, then none of this will help. First Hannah died, then Betty, and then Nancy. Last of all, Vasilisa died, and opening her eyes, she found herself back in her bed. She can't remember the last time she slept soundly. No matter how much another death breaks her, the people around her remain the same. If this continued, she would definitely go crazy, so the girl tried to bring herself to her senses. She still doesn't lose hope of being saved because she wants to live. Only a strong desire to live makes her believe that she has not yet lost her humanity. That's right. You just need to find a way to get out of the vicious circle, even if past attempts have not been successful. After dying 39 times, she noticed something. There are 3 necessary components to her death. If she dies, she will return 2 days before her death. The prince asks 3 questions. In any case, she will die. Even if she escapes, she will still run into the prince if she manages to avoid him. Then she dies at the same time in another way. And this is her 40th life. She hasn't slept for the 3rd night because she doesn't want to sleep and see these nightmares again. Every night she dreams of another death, and if she can't let it go, the nightmares will never end. 3 hours later, Amor's palace. A servant from the princess's palace arrived. He allowed her to enter and expressed surprise to you that she continued to hide her identity. Vasilisa said that she was still considered to be taken into custody. The prince invited her to sit down. In principle, I didn't understand how she could be so shameless and even behave so brazenly. Indeed, they met because she spilled his poisoned tea. Although she has met him for the 40th time and said that he asks why she has become so impudent, she noted that perhaps it is because of what happened a month ago. Sometimes she wonders how things would have turned out if she had behaved differently, with him, had been more open and attentive from the very first day. The prince didn't understand what she was talking about. Every time their relationship goes back to the beginning, even if every time she saves him. Now it would be great if he understood her. The lady asked him not to behave like that, but to tell her about the crown prince. The guy thought for a moment, after which the girl asked if he had taken his medicine, and Amor noted that she had no shame or conscience. Now the man who has capsized is no longer so calm and kind. She again and again gets him angry. Now she's showing her character. The prince asked if she was interested in anything special. The lady coughed, because she was not sure he was always like this. Cupid told her to clear her throat and then speak. He always raged for an hour every time they saw each other. Vasilisa said that it was hard to answer something when they asked so suddenly. The guy told her to leave then, but the lady said that she was interested in how he would deal with those who wanted to kill him. Amor asked if they were talking about his brother. Come to think of it, he must have owed a note or something in the past. On the first day, the day she first met her older brother, Amor noted that the question of the heir was resolved, but it cannot be said that it was final. To win abilities alone are not enough, so he will tell her something about her brother that she needs to know, so she should listen carefully. His brother enjoys watching his victim writhe in his death throes. Therefore, it should be of interest, and at the basis of his decision interest, and not calculations. Vasilisa asked if he was saying that she just needed to interest him. Amor said that if she could, she would extend her life by a few days or years. If she is ready to behave like a devoted dog for the sake of life, and be afraid every day, not to wake up, then this option is for her. He speaks and seems to blame himself. You can't predict what will interest him. Maybe if she acts like an idiot, she'll be pardoned. He likes to watch people do stupid things, and there's no point in killing idiots. She remembered that her brother had given her a letter, and what he had told her now had been written in the letter then. But even if she had memorized what was written, she would not have been able to use the advice, because fear of the crown prince consumed her mind. Only after dying 39 times was she able to overcome her horror, so she stood up and thanked the prince. She was very grateful that he shared his thoughts. He noted that she should not say stupid things. Amor hasn't decided yet whether to let her near him. It seems she's starting to like him. The lady asked if she could greet him properly. He was group but never rejected her, so she kissed his hand. She decided that they would meet again this time in the future. And again, the 10th day came. She had only one way left. To the one who killed her, she will smile like a beautiful flower. Her 40th life, as she decided the last one in the loop, had now begun. His name is Castor de Caltanius, and she must know. She didn't know why, but he came an hour early. But she didn't care, and said that she knew. The girl was ready for anything, and said that she welcomed the first branch of the empire. Vasilisa tried to control herself this time. She had to act correctly. The 10th day came again, and she had only one way to survive. Vasilisa greeted her brother with a smile. The 40th life as if the last began, and she noticed that she heard that he was looking for her. The brother smiled at her and asked, what if so? Vasilisa pretended to be in complete shock, and noted that such an important person had traveled an awfully long way to her palace. She asked what brought her brother to his crumbling palace, and after that the man froze. She noted that he had no idea how happy she was when she heard about his visit, and said that she was also very ashamed that her palace looked so bad. She can hear them talking about the princess going crazy. Let her chatter as much as she wants. After this, Castor decided to find out her name, and the girl said that her name was Vasilisa Rosa Caltanis and asked him to call her simply Vasilisa. After this, the man laughed and said that that was her name, and he had even managed to forget it. He said that now her name would be remembered, and the girl was very grateful to him for this. But he thinks she should spend more time talking about what she's saying. Sir, she doesn't even know how to be cunning, even now she's scared. This was not true. He was wrong and underestimating her, so Vasilisa asked why he thought she was afraid. The girl asked what she should be afraid of, because he was not scary to her, and with all her heart she longed to break the hellish loop. Even if death awaits her again, she is ready as long as it all ends. Because of him, who time after time influenced his life, she had to bury her face in the ground. The prince was surprised that she was not afraid, and asked whether she should continue to insist that she was not afraid if he skinned her right now or cut off her arms and legs. Vasilisa noted that it did sound scary, but I wonder why he would do that. She asked him if he had any reason to kill her. Then she noted that he was probably wondering why she was so sure about it. Vasilisa said that it was simple, and she had good intuition if he really came to kill. If he wanted to kill her, he would have sent a messenger from God, or someone else instead of himself. Two complicated words. After that, the girl turned to the man and asked if he was the Duke of de Vello. The man said he was Hernandez von de Vello, and he greeted the only flower of the empire. The lady was shocked by how handsome he was. She remarked that she was so glad that the crown prince, her brother, came to visit her. The lady spent a whole half-hour getting ready. 39th time, already 39 times. So many times she died, if not by his hand, then because of him. The girl said that if he wanted to know why she would be terribly interested, Vasilisa was able to overcome the fear of death and meet his gaze. She asked whether her brother had come to see her or to praise her. Vasilisa really wanted to tell him to think about it and use it for its intended purpose. What she learned from the book and the stories that had not yet been written filled her mind, creating vivid pictures in her imagination. Vasilisa is using everything she can to survive in the current situation, and she noticed that her mother remained in the main palace, which adds to her feeling of loneliness. That's why she thought about praise. Perhaps if she continued to study diligently, her father would still come to her and listen to her, together with her brothers, whom she had not yet seen. They could all come together, and this thought gave her hope for a brighter future. Castor decided to ask if she was saying and thinking this way only because she was studying, since it could simply be a reflection of her hopes. He thought that they should come only because she was studying, but the girl really sincerely believed that they cared about her. Vasilisa noticed that when she started studying, she suddenly realized that she was very bored. That was why she wanted to ask her brother. The etiquette teacher who came to her palace called her useless, and it hurt her deeply. She said that the girl's face was disfigured by a scar, and she was shocked that the girl believed that the country needed such a princess, which depressed Vasilisa even more. She couldn't believe that her father would come for her just to kill her. Castor hates the emperor, his father, who tried to kill his son. Vasilisa asked her brother if she was wrong in her assumptions. She believed that her father would not kill an innocent person, and a hope crept into her heart that he would still be able to understand her. As many times as he wants, only then will he become no better than his hated father. Vasilisa wanted to tell him to just try to kill her, because she would rise again. Castor thought it was funny, so he asked her to continue. She's not afraid, and her assumptions are funny. The little sister decided to ask him what an assumption is. The gentleman said that what she said, about the reason why he came. After that, the prince asked her what she thought, why he came. Vasilisa asked if he came because he was thinking about her. There are so many things to do now, because the harvest needs to be gathered, and he can always call her. The prince wondered what would happen if he called her for another reason. The lady asked which one, and the prince didn't even know what to answer her, but he gave her an example that it could come from betrayal. Well, the girl thought that this couldn't be, because she knew her brother, and he simply cared about her. Castor asked if it was really so. The girl said that it was because all the maids from the palace treated her well, so she was sure that her brother did too. In Rusbella's Light, there is a rather unusual supporting character, a lady with a flower crown on her head, so innocent that she seems stupid to those around her. Today, she decided to use her words, the words of the girl who would become Rusbella's only best friend. It can't be that the people she loves don't love her? The girl said that she and her brother are similar. Castor asked again what it meant, and the girl said that she liked him just as much as she loves her nanny, and she loves her, and her brother loves her. The principal noticed that she was interesting, and it seemed that he expected too much when he saw her. It's not bad. He had fun because he didn't know she was that stupid. He noted that the princess should be more confident if she believes in something, especially if something important to her is at stake. The prince said he came because he had to tell her about her sins. Vasilisa immediately began asking what sins he was talking about, and if he wanted something from her, he should only say what he wanted. She did nothing but wait like a wildflower for his visit. The man said that then she must survive today and answer a couple of his questions. Vasilisa asked if she would survive if she answered, but the principal noted that it depended on her answers. As the one who will become the emperor in the future, he is obliged to cleanse her sins, committed in honor of the cursed god of chaos. She puts her life on the line to answer 3 questions and prove his loyalty to the empire first. He asked her what the empire was. He thinks she's stupid, so she should answer accordingly. Vasilisa said that it was nothing, and the empire was just the place where she was born. And if her father told her to leave, then she would leave. Because girls in the families of rulers are just small change. The prince asked if she wanted to say that she did not belong to the land where she was born and raised. Vasilisa asked if she couldn't talk like that. Castor pointed out that she couldn't think or talk like that anymore because she couldn't even imagine what a stupid thing she had said. The second question is, he wants to know what she thinks about the emperor. The girl said that he was the one who gave her life and hoped that he would find her a handsome and strong man as a groom. He's let his guard down, but what's happening now is somehow different from past attempts. Now she remembered the contents of her brother's letter, which he sent the first time, and there he wrote that he still did not believe her, but wanted to meet again. He wrote out a survival strategy and how to become a jester, and everything is correct as he wrote it. She feels like a true jester finding strange satisfaction in it. Her desperate fight for a peaceful life for one more day becomes possible thanks to him, and she feels that she has hope for the future. The gentleman said that he would ask her one last question about who he was to her, and the girl easily answered that he was her brother, which filled her heart with warmth. She didn't even know how to say it, because he was the most handsome man she had ever seen, which caused her mixed feelings and embarrassment. And then she got scared because she called him by his name, which seemed too personal to her. And the gentleman said that it didn't matter how she addressed him, because either way, she would be detained as a suspect in worshiping the damned god of chaos, which made her heart clench with fear and anxiety. The girl fell to her knees and said that she didn't know him, and her teacher preferred to pay attention to her smart brother Dane, so she didn't know anything about the gods, and said that it was unfair. Vasilisa told her dear brother that she was on his side and cried at the same time. She didn't know what her sin was, but she didn't believe that she had really done something so terrible. She asked him to tell her what he was doing, and she just asked him to save her. He doesn't care what she thinks, but he does care about what's inside her. He wants to rip her in half and pull out her guts. She is not afraid these are the words she was waiting for from him. The prince ordered her to name the servant she cherishes most. It seems he misunderstood her because she was the one who brought her to the secret place. The girl understood that she should not scream and cry. She had no choice if she wanted to live peacefully with everyone. She is the only one to blame for everything because she did nothing wrong. Vasilisa told her brother that he was right. Castor noted that then she would live and smiled at her. She will smile like a quote who doesn't care about deaths, but he should know that the flower will live in spite of everything, and one day will become a Venus flytrap that will swallow him whole. Then he decided to ask the last question about whether she was really innocent. She, who spent her days in peace and quiet, turned her into a living corpse. Vasilisa said that she was innocent and burst into tears. Castor believed that she would then do something for him, and the girl immediately agreed to it. The girl pressed her brother's hand to her face and said that she would do anything for him. She tried to smile, disgust, hatred, and disdain. That's all he could show her. Hernan is the one who is the observer. The gentleman reported that he was glad. His mother turned away from him in disgust and eventually ran away. She who doesn't know him believes his every word and extends her hands. Therefore, he will repay her in kind. And now he will leave her and ask that they get rid of that sinner Hannah. The girl thought about the same shaft Hannah, or already from the glass, with blood. If her death will help to break the loop, then she is not sure that she will be able to come to terms with her death. The prince told Hernandez that it seemed their little informant in the 4th department was dead. The gentleman asked if she had heard that a place had become available for her. Now his verdict has been given. He will allow her to be near him, but now it is time for him to go. He told Vasilisa that they would see each other later and began to leave. After this, the mistress immediately rushed to Hannah. She asked the other maids if she was breathing and asked them to quickly move her to another place. Hannah was alive, and that's why the lady asked her for forgiveness. She didn't even know who could predict such an outcome. She asked to forgive her because she was very sorry about it. The blame for what happened does not lie only with her, but she asks for forgiveness. There are no tears, despite the pain in her chest. It's her 40th day, she's still alive, and she became the crown prince's man. The 10th day of Habermia Amar's room morning. His Highness was informed that it was mealtime. The maid was getting very expensive when she came in. In it, he saw his sister. The gentleman asked her to put it next to him and leave. The maid immediately ran out quickly. He heard the whole conversation between his brother and Vasilisa through the plant. At that time, he had a loving mother and a garden full of exotic plants. His mother was like snow. She told her son that he had special soil in his hands. It helps plants grow. The fourth queen was born with some flaws. Even after receiving the title, she felt disdainful glances since everyone avoided her. There were not even servants in the palace. That's why they were so close to their mother. One day, the boy had a high fever. No one could have predicted that the fever was the first sign of an approaching disaster. Her baby was in great pain. She begged him to hold on. That day, he awoke as a priest of the fourth god, Tellus. He had power that no one else had. The more priests a god has, the stronger he is. But Telos only has one priest. The boy heard the plants telling him to run away. But the boy did not understand who was speaking and why the plants were crying. He saw his mother and did not understand why she was crying. His older brother greeted him and asked him the saint his name. The boy introduced himself, and the gentleman remarked that he had such a good name. The boy asked his mother to open her eyes, but the woman said that she was praying for him. One day he would be able to live happily in the north, and then his mother died. Then the elder brother threw him poison cursed by God, and he would not be able to cleanse his body of it. He can drink it and stay alive, or not drink it and die right now. Castor told his brother to drink it. After that, he could not be sure of anyone who was near him. His Highness did have a fine name, but it didn't take him long to be convinced of their motives. They all approached him for revenge, and he made poison for the emperor as his pharmacist. His enemies died one after another because of him. Her father and husband died because of the poison he made. Therefore, he is not worthy of life and must die. It seems that he was betrayed today. His mistake was that he trusted that woman, so he should trust no one. That's right, trust disappears as quickly as it appears. That's right, that's exactly how it was. But his sister Vasilisa said that she wanted him to live, and asked that he not die here. She was the first one who wanted him to live. The first princess. Habermaya's month the 7th. She tells him again not to drink it. Hernan came to him and asked how it happened that the prince did not die. Not long ago, there were several attempts on his life, and all were unsuccessful. The gentleman asked the prince if the plan was for him to drink poison and hide, and he would have to find and bring to justice the one who killed him. They know that the second prince's family, who run the Temple of Wisdom, is behind the assassination attempts. He remembers them. Of course, he was also surprised by how the princess behaved. Her visit was quite sudden, but he believes that nothing can be more important than catching the enemy red-handed. Amor noted that no one could know about this, and he thinks that he did not want to drink the poison in the first place. Hernan asked the gentleman if he remembered that he would not die if he drank it. The boy remembered again how his sister said that she wanted him to live. Hernan said that if it was his decision, then there was a good reason. Castor thought that everything was a little different. Amor asked his brother in horror when he managed to go. Castor asked again if he was talking about the princess, and noted that he was going to visit her anyway, but it seemed that he had now found a couple more interesting details. He has lost a lot over the years, and will continue to lose what is dear to him. Strangely, even so, he thinks again about how she asks him not to die. Amor said that if it seemed that she was about to die, then she asked him to help her, the only princess. The girl was able to survive the meeting with the crown prince, but Amor did not understand at all why he was so happy, because this event was a real test for her. The gentleman still understood that he had to come to terms with the fact that she who had told him to live must now continue to exist, and it would be great if she could also find her happiness. After 3 months, it seemed to her more and more often that every time she had a bad day, the weather outside was wonderful and clear, which made her mood even stranger. The weather on the 10th day of Hibernia was always clear and sunny, And 3 months ago, the Knight of Castor came for her and transferred her here to a new life. To the fourth administrative building, on the very first day, it turned out that her immediate superior would not be Castor, which was a surprise to her. And the head of construction was a man who occupied the highest position in the fourth administrative building, which caused her some concern. On his orders, she was assigned to greet guests and carry out minor errands for the other workers, which seemed rather boring to her, but necessary. For the sake of work, she hides her true identity, and since she was brought by the crown prince, the boss cannot assign work to the servants. Vasilisa worked a little in her second life, so it was not a burden for her, but even made her happy, giving her the opportunity to be useful. She walked into the room and greeted her boss, realizing that here he was the one whose orders she was obliged to carry out first and foremost, which made her a little nervous. It was a man named Granius, who happened to be the head of the Fourth Imperial Administrative Corps, which gave him considerable power. He read that his master was joking, because he had brought such a frail girl, so he did not understand what kind of work she could do in such an important place. This was the order of His Highness the Crown Prince, and although he didn't particularly like her within 3 months, their relationship began to warm up, which gave her hope. He asked the youngest to hand him the parchment and quill, and the idiotic smile was always on the girl's face, which added a little confidence to hers. The gentleman did not understand at all what to do with such a skinny girl. Vasilisa asked him why he did not ask the crown prince. The gentleman did not understand at all how she dared to make fun of her superiors, and this irritated him because he was accustomed to subordinates who did not challenge his authority. He asked if she was suggesting that he die at the hands of the crown prince in his prime, which sounded like a joke, but with a hint of seriousness. It was painful for Vasilisa to hear such words, and he turned out to be another person who could not control his strength, as if Flayon was not enough for hers. While they were apart, he developed a new bad habit of bullying children. Not only was he terribly late, but he was also rude to her. And Bubo, her friend, said that he asked her not to call him that, which only made the situation worse. The gentleman greeted her and asked what kind of child she was, and noted that he had such a grown-up daughter. Granius asked if he really thought it was an insult to be his family. He asked him not to ask, because she was here because of orders from above. He should have declined the inconvenient arrangement, but his position did not allow him to ignore such orders. It would be good if he sent someone else from those simple-minded people. The order came from the first branch of the empire, and he cannot refuse it. The guy was shocked with you that the order was from the crown prince himself, and asked if he had decided to stay away from him. The gentleman asked if he thought he hadn't tried. So that was how such a fragile child became part of their corps. This is a very interesting lady. He just wanted to say that despite the fact that she was sent by the crown prince, she is quite interesting in her own right. Granius asked if he felt anything unusual, and the gentleman confirmed that he felt power in her. She only feels a sliver of power now, but it looks like she could become a priest. The girl was in complete shock when she heard about this, because she never thought that she could be a priest. The man said he was late in greeting. He said his name was Sorix Nocta. She can just call him Sorix. He is the commander of the Knights of the 4th Administrative Watch, heads the local police responsible for maintaining order in the territory of the 4th building. It seems that fear of Castor reigns here too. Something is bothering her. She doesn't understand why he hasn't come yet. It's strange that Castor dropped her off here, and still hasn't shown up for 3 full months now. He gave her only one precise order, and that was that he wanted her to steal something from there. Vasilisa decided to ask if he was called Bubo. The gentleman asked her not to think so, because it was a disrespectful way to address an owl. This is the most humiliating address. He is a priest of Cambanus, the god of eyes and owls. Everyone who dresses like him serves this god. And so he suggested that she take a closer look. The emblem of 4 laurel leaves represents the magistrate. 4 administrative bodies means that there should be 4 leaves. It seems that Sir has taught her everything she needs to know, and his help will not be needed. The gentleman was not sure, but the Duke was training her after that. The guy thought about it. It had been 3 months already. It turned out that they didn't get along very well. He's trying to say that there's nothing wrong with treating her better, because that's how he feels, and that's what he thinks is right. The gentleman was surprised by this revelation. The boy remarked that he believed that his feeling was given to him by God, and this added weight to his words. The man said that he too is a priest, but at the same time, he feels that he is devouring his strength and is faced with things that are beyond his control, as if his strength has its limits. He seemed to look down on him, so the gentleman thought that he wanted to go back to work in the north again, where power and status could give him more opportunities. The boy seemed embarrassed and asked the gentleman not to listen to him, explaining that he had drunk a strange poison that made him lie and not control his words. After that, he offered Vasilisa a candy and said that it tasted like figs and grapes, which perhaps was supposed to distract her from their difficult conversation. The girl was very grateful to him. The guy noticed that her face changed a lot when she smiled, and usually she looked like an ice statue that came to life. The gentleman noticed that she always looked normal, so he asked him not to make fun of the younger ones. He lion, calm and friendly, the guy thought that the gentleman praised him, and he saw how he was going to flick her on the little forehead and wondered what she did. The master was shocked with you that he is now older than us. We are mocking the unfair order of the crown prince, echoes with pain in the heart. Here, everyone treats her like the daughter of ruined nobles. She continues to hide the truth behind layers of clothing, but they will all most likely be present at her coming-of-age ceremony in the central palace. She wondered if they would be embarrassed and scared when they found out they had a princess running errands for them. If it weren't for the order of the damned crown prince, everything wouldn't have been like this. The duke came to her and asked how she was doing. He Hernandez von de Vello welcomes the 8th branch to the empire. The lady noted that a week had passed. He had told her that she could call him simply Hernan if she wished. 3 months ago, he appeared before her as a knight of Castor, and she explained everything calmly. Unlike the master who would have cut off her head without going into details, he sincerely asked for forgiveness for everything that awaited her in the future. She could not even imagine that she would be treated with such attention and respect. Hernan is one of the main characters in the original story, and he is one of those who fell in love with the main character, but alas, unrequitedly, and he is also the most handsome man in the novel. The lady thought that it didn't matter that he was the most handsome, because he would be abandoned anyway. She sees him too often, so she got used to his handsome face. He thought that something was bothering the princess, and Vasilisa said that this was not so, because everyone was very kind to her. She's just wondering how much longer she has to wear this kind of crap, because her clothes are not cute at all. She's just turned on idiot mode, all because she wanted to know how much longer she would stay here. The gentleman remarked that he really felt very sorry for her being in such an untidy place and in such clothes. Well, now she can't wear what she's used to. Vasilisa thought that it would be better if he didn't just listen, but did something. Just like in the book, he is gentle and friendly. He can even calmly interact with a naive, stupid princess, not knowing what good is. But so what, he's the one who calmly watched her die, and he's the one who doesn't interfere. He is the envoy of the crown prince, who trains her to work in the 4th administrative building, and she thinks he is also involved in surveillance. The gentleman asked if she understood what he was talking about. The lady was sure of this, and asked me why she needed to learn this. Instead of spatial explanations, she would like him to tell her more about what she should find here. Castor told her to steal one thing, but he didn't give her even the slightest hint as to what exactly she should be looking for. Vasilisa didn't understand why he always spoke so complicatedly, and asked if he could explain it more simply. The Duke asked her to accept his apology and point out that he was a rather mediocre lecturer. He didn't understand what to do because he was afraid that the princess would have to somehow remember everything he said so that he could move on to the next topic. Vasilisa said that she was not stupid and repeated it again. Hernan said that he certainly agreed with hers, and he noted that he would try to find a way to make the lessons easier. She thought he was sad, and she was just complaining and making fun of him. The gentleman understood with everyone why the princess thought so, because she was the noble 8th branch in the empire. All his life, he thought only about how precious she was. The girl did not understand why he reacted like that, and believed that he definitely knew her very well. The lady thought that he simply hated her, but the gentleman did not understand how she could ask such obvious things. She seems to understand why Castor has placed the care and responsibility on the shoulders of this man from the world of Rosbella. The man was fully attentive, and the lady thought that he looked like a faithful puppy. The lady thought that he liked her and asked if he could marry her. The Duke said that if she wished, he would not be able to refuse such an important person. The reason he comes to her every 2 days is his desire to take care of her and protect her from danger. Vasilisa has difficulty understanding what he is talking about, but she does not understand why this is so. If he felt something for her, then she didn't understand why he never helped her save herself, so she didn't know how to react. And she assumed that it was because of this that he wanted to protect her. Hernan did not understand at all how he could leave the princess alone in such a place. Vasilisa asked him to answer her honestly, then that her brother had ordered to steal her. She did not understand why she did not tell, because he himself said that if she could hide, she could be near her brother. The master asked if she really wanted to take the side of His Majesty. Vasilisa thought it was obvious being nearby. She would be able to see his every move and prevent him from making plans against her or the people of her palace in time. Vasilisa is ready to do anything for her and their salvation, so she just wants him to tell her quickly what she needs to find and take, because if he doesn't tell her, she herself won't understand. His silence is an important part of helping the princess, and she still insists, Vasilisa said, that she needs at least a hint. Hernan asked him to forgive her, and it seemed that the princess did not quite understand his words, so he decided to repeat what he said next time. Here the princess realized that all this time she had been pretending that she didn't remember anything. Maybe she should pretend that she somehow understood everything. So she asked if he took her for a fool and was very annoyed. She understands everything, and he was just telling her about the place where they were. It was the fourth of the 7 administrative buildings that were responsible for the construction. But when it came time to name the palace, she couldn't do it. Its name is Solitorium, and the man responsible for it is the great priest of the god of justice and strength, Grenius. And the current aristocracy was divided into curulus, part of the priesthood, and plebis, who are not priests, and asked if everything was correct. The gentleman was surprised that she remembered everything Vasilisa noted, that she had already said that she was smart, and that was why Hernan admitted that he was wrong about hers. There is little time, so he will begin, and to put it briefly, he belongs to a special organization created by the emperor, like the crown prince, who plays the role of a dictator. Secret intelligence group. The lady realized that they were some kind of spies. The 4 departments of the organization are responsible for management and security in different areas. Therefore, they also have an army at their disposal, which allows them to immediately respond to the slightest manifestation of aggression. However, now representatives of the 4th administrative building are behaving suspiciously. The lady asked again and began to believe that they might be rebels. Hernan noted that the influence of the second prince here is much stronger than that of the crown prince. They do not deny the possibility that they were betrayed. He asks the lady to report everything she sees and to find the sclerosis necklace. This is the order of the crown prince. She realized that this meant that if she wanted to get out of here, she had to bring him the necklace, and only then would he let her maid go. Vasilisa first asked what it was, and thought that it was a jewel, but the gentleman said that it was the seal of the construction manager. The necklace-shaped seal looked simple, but in reality it was a relic of the temple, and its symbol possessing deep meaning and power. It turned out to be something like a royal seal, and Hernan noted that it must be kept somewhere in the chief's office, which further increased her determination. Vasilisa considered this some kind of madness, because she had to steal such a valuable thing that it seemed completely unthinkable and dangerous. The job ahead of her was not an easy one, and a week after the search began, she continued her mission full of determination and uncertainty at the same time. Today was the 7th day, and she tried not to attract attention, searching the office little by little, carefully choosing the moments for her actions. She reached the back of the table, but found nothing there either. She wasn't sure, but it seemed the seal had been hidden in a more secure place than she had expected, and she has no idea where to start, and she can't rely solely on what she's been told while she's collecting information and passing it on to the organization. They felt that they were asking too much of her, a simple fool, and suddenly she noticed a keyhole which gave her a surge of hope, so she decided to try to open it. When she realized that the key did not fit, she was confused. It seemed to fit, but it did not turn, and this left her at a loss. She began to rely on the fact that she would need to be as strong as Grenius to handle this task, but this only added to her feeling of failure, and yet another failure. Fenna was surprised to see the child come early today. He is a priest of the god of clouds and feathers, and also Grenius's secretary. Vasilisa greeted the gentleman, and he was surprised that she was no longer afraid. The girl noted that 3 months had already passed, and he still makes her float every day, even if he uses the power of a priest. She thinks that she is heavy. The gentleman remarked that lifting her was like lifting 3 feathers. The gentleman said that since he had come, he should do his work and not play with the child. Fenna turned to the chief and asked him who he thought was holding up the unfortunate security department, and if there was a person in their corps who was more devoted to the common cause than he was, then let him take a step forward immediately. Fenna sounded like he was asking if he could do whatever he wanted during the break. The girl was finally back on the ground. The master ordered him to stop and better go to the second administrative building. Fenna said that he would go officially refuse to change their warriors. And the girl did not understand how she could continue to look for the necklace and thought that there was another way to turn the key without using monstrous force. The gentleman thought that this was a trifle. Something was bothering him because her pendant was too expensive for the daughter of ruined nobles. He asked if she thought it was an unfortunate miscalculation. Granius said that he would do his best to protect the princess from any danger. The girl did not understand at all how he recognized her. After that, she came to the second prince, and he noted that 3 months later, she was finally caught. She's not sure, maybe she was caught, maybe she wasn't, but she thinks he knew everything from the beginning. The prince heard that on the day they met, he slammed the door so hard that he almost broke it, and noted that he was aware of the difficult character of the construction manager Granius. However, he is one of those people who will fly into a rage and start destroying everything around him just because he was entrusted to me with just a child and a girl, and her assumption may be correct. Vasilisa noted that it seemed he didn't know the master very well. Amor said that he had once brazenly cut down a couple of trees near his palace before leaving, and everyone knew that he was hot-tempered. The lady was guilty of asking why he did it, and the guy replied that it was all in order to recruit him, or something like that, but he wonders why she is asking about it. The girl asked if she could ask such a question. The gentleman asked her not to change the subject. She had to answer. The lady remarked that she was not sure she had a bad habit. She went through many reincarnations, and each time only he did not change. Therefore, only with him can she laugh openly or cry bitterly. Even if he doesn't remember anything that happened, you shouldn't pay so much attention to her words. Only here can she honestly talk about what she thinks. The gentleman asked if she wanted to tell him that he was not to be feared, and smiled at her. It's so peaceful. I also wonder where those who died from it are now. The harder life gets, the brighter Amor shines her little flame, and the only one who remains unchanged in each of her reincarnations. The gentleman asked what she was thinking about so much that she completely forgot about her interlocutor. She hopes that he will be able to continue living, so she turned to her brother and asked what the best course of action would be to save her life. Amor did not understand at all why she was asking him when it was about her own life. Of course, he will try his best to protect the princess from any danger. Vasilisa remembered these words, and said that it was all because she had no support. She felt sorry for herself because she was able to avoid death, but now she was forced to spy in a place where everyone was against her. She asks him for help. She doesn't need much, just a little hint. Amor did not understand why she told him everything so confidently, and the lady noted that it was all because they were comrades. Comrades who managed to survive, and he is the person she wants to continue working with in the future. This made the prince blush. He thought she was talking nonsense, and noted that while the fourth administrative building might appear to be under the control of the second branch, it was in fact the only neutral zone. Granius is a fair man and an outstanding statesman. Perhaps he will not protect her from wounds, but he will try to save her from imminent death. She thought it was a hint and noted that he was right, and it seemed to her that this was in his style, and that meant that she needed to make him start liking her. The brother noted that then perhaps it would be possible to make her life easier, and asked if she had the gift of evoking pity. The lady asked if her brother felt sorry for her. The princess did not understand at all how she could even say that. Vasilisa noted that next time she would show him her work uniform. Amor noted that he was a princess again. She should think about beautiful dresses and asked her to stop putting that crap on her face. When it comes to her ability, he can't say more than she already knows. She doesn't have it anymore. She disappeared after she saved him. Amor was very surprised by this. She is not lying. She is not telling the whole truth. 3 months ago, after she survived, the pages in the diary became blank. Early the next morning, her knight was training nearby, so they decided to return together. It's time to look for the necklace again. I just need to somehow open this box. Well, when she came in, she was in complete shock because she didn't understand why the room was in such a mess. She noticed that there was someone there and tried to calm down, then asked who he was. She is still very happy, but she thinks that he came to the master. Perhaps he is an ordinary thief or a mercenary. But this man grabbed Vasilisa by the neck. She thought he would kill her because it was very difficult for her to breathe. The girl did not understand at all why no one was coming and why she was the one who had no strength. Suddenly, she felt her diary, and the man immediately let her go. The girl barely cleared her throat. She asked him if he was a thief, but he immediately jumped out of the window. Now he is on the first floor, so the girl decided that she should detain him. She needed to jump, and it seemed she saw a necklace in his hands. She was helped down by the Lord Priest Fene. She shouted that the man was a thief, so he had to be caught. He had stolen something from the Lord's office. Fena was in complete shock and shouted to her that he would be right back. She forgot something. Now she can't see the future through any, so there is no guarantee that she will be resurrected again, but she is not afraid of death. Anyway, what she felt when he squeezed her neck. It was a very strange feeling. The thief was also holding the necklace in his hands, and he stole it right in front of her. And she can't be wrong. It was hard, but the lady is glad that at least her bones are intact. All thanks to Mr. Fene. Granius asked the younger one if she was all right, and the girl immediately confirmed it. She said that she was okay, but Fene interrupted her, saying that she was not okay. He kept asking her to look at her neck. He did it with their youngest neck. Everyone also did not understand how he dared to harm their youngest. The gentleman noted that he heard that she ran after the criminal. Fen noted that he caught her when she fell from the second floor, and he chased after the thief, but he was able to escape. Another man reported that they had fought, and he seemed to be a talented fighter, and thought he might be the priest of Consolatio. Consolatio is the god of bandits. Better listen to the mini-expert. The expert is already here. As a result of the check, the assumption was confirmed. This was said by Matthias, who is the commander of the patrol and the priest of thieves. Vasilisa's injury makes itself felt again, and her thoughts are interrupted when the master begins to ask the chief what exactly was missing from the castle. Everything that had value remained in its place, even those things that were included in special lists for protection and accounting, which was somewhat reassuring. However, the rat decided to encroach on the most important thing in the castle. The Scalos necklace, which was legendary and was the keeper of ancient secrets. But she couldn't take it all, and in the end, only half remained, which was alarming because this necklace is a temple relic with powerful magical power, and he is sure that now his body is pierced by unbearable pain. When someone takes something important that does not belong to them, they themselves are condemned to divine punishment. He will be cursed, but half was stolen if the divine curse is already in effect. Then she wonders what will happen to her if she touches the other half. Vasilisa assumed that the same would happen to him. Well, their task now was to strengthen security, to restrain anyone who turned out to be suspicious. Fene and Sorix would work on the portrait and description of the criminal. After this, everyone could be free. The gentleman turned to the princess and asked if she was okay. Vasilisa said that she was fine and nothing terrible had happened to her. The gentleman decided to ask her forgiveness because he did not think that the life of a precious branch of the empire would be in danger in his core. He is to blame for this. Mrs. Gavriloff, that even on the way from the second floor, she would not have died. The gentleman was that the princess who grew up in warmth and safety thinks so. He asked if the crown prince had taught her like that. The lady remembered that he had recommended her as an assistant and thought that the lord thought that her brother cared about her. Vasilisa noticed that she didn't understand what he meant. Perhaps he shouldn't ask such a question, but she was too calm and she didn't look like the kind of person for whom such a fall would result in only a few bruises. The girl said that since he had already guessed, she would tell him, but only him. She was not afraid to jump. Granius was shocked when he learned her true identity and noted that when she arrived in his office on the orders of the crown prince, he thought that he was raising her as a priest. The lady was surprised by this. The gentleman noted that many members of the royal family become priests from birth, or have the quality necessary to become them in the future. However, it seems that her time has not yet come. Vasilisa, who is stuck here, is interested in how it happened that the precious branch of the empire ended up in the fourth building. The lady believed that she had appeared there precisely because she was not precious enough. He did not understand how it had happened that such a powerful man, the first answer in the empire, had changed so much. Because he used to be a cheerful child, Vasilisa was shocked 120th that in childhood he was different. The gentleman said that he was innocent and smart. Well, he changed so suddenly, in any case, he had never seen the princess be capricious or want something like other children. She seems to have been raised with care, but she is bad at cleaning, but stubbornly makes tea and carries out even the most insignificant errands. And he doesn't understand at all how the precious branches have enough patience for this. Vasilisa asked if he wanted to say that she was strange, because she didn't create problems and didn't throw tantrums for any reason. Granius added that even her answer might seem strange. She was simply trying to act more mature. He hadn't expected anything else. How can you not look? Her gaze is the same as that of the dead. It's a pity. It was impossible not to notice how badly his influence was affecting her. The only time her eyes sparkled was when they spoke of the place. Just like the fourth prince, she should go back early and have a good rest. Vasilisa realized that she was in big trouble. If Hannah saw her neck in such a state, then trouble would be inevitable. And she needs to change her bandage, but she doesn't have the slightest idea how to do it. She didn't even know who to ask for help at such moments. She really misses her parents from her past life. She was almost strangled by a person she doesn't know. Her nan asked her if it was true. The gentleman asked the princess if he had heard right and began to wonder who had strangled her. At first, the lady decided to ask how he had ended up there, but he lifted the lady into his arms and remarked that he did not think his answer was important now. Given the circumstances, he hopes that she will forgive him for his insolence. Vasilisa thought it was strange because she didn't understand why he was so kind now. Tomorrow, the marks will be even more visible, but basically, everything is fine. Vasilisa was too tired to pretend to be a fool. Hernan examined her. The gentleman noted that if he had known what had happened, he would have brought medicine. He asked her to at least let him help with the bandage. If it hurts, he asks her to squeeze his leg tighter. The gentleman asked her to be patient for a little while. It seems that this is not the first time he has done a bandage. After that, the gentleman asked her how she feels and whether her neck hurts anymore. The lady said that it no longer hurt, and the Duke sighed with relief. If she was scared or in pain, she should tell him right away. The gentleman thought she was very scared. The lady tried to convey to him that she was okay, and noted that she was very scared, but the culprit was able to escape. Hernan told her that he would soon be caught and would make him regret to his last breath that he had dared to touch the lady. Although it was not seriously damaged, she had every right to punish him to the fullest extent. But no punishment would be severe enough to atone for the fact that he had frightened her. Hernan was very worried about her. It just takes her breath away. A character who loved Rispella but abandoned her for Castor. A man who worshipped Castor. That's how he was in the book. But for some reason, he's acting differently now, and it seems like he really cares about her. It was very grateful that he was worried about her, but compared to their first meeting, it was as if he had become a different person. The gentleman thought she was talking about her first impression, and she confirmed it. When she saw him that day, he seemed like a cold-blooded man. Hernan noted that he had not known that he looked like a cold-blooded person. After that, he noted that if she asked why he was acting differently, then he did not want her appointment. Hernan doesn't understand why Castor decided to leave her here, even after serving him for 10 years. He still can't understand many of his decisions. He never tried to harm the princess, and in the future he will protect her with all his might. He who stood and watched her die now say that you will protect her. Vasilisa did not understand at all how she could trust him. The knight finally waited for his mistress. Vasilisa told him not to wait for her, but the man informed her that such were his duties. He thought that the lady was tired, and it seemed that she had an injury that she had not had before, and he was sure that she would not answer even if he asked. Vasilisa could hide a wound on her leg or arm, but there's no way to hide one on her neck. Lay turned to the princess, but the lady said that she was not even going to listen to questions about her neck. As he didn't think, but he has another question. He wonders how she decided to come here, even when they tried to dissuade her. Vasilisa asked him not to ask about her neck, but he asks about something that is even more difficult for her to answer. You are simply the one that Hannah and Fleon have not been able to ask for 3 months. The brother asked her many times if she was okay, and what was wrong with her, but she did not answer him. Her brother asked her not to go because he would find a way so that she would not have to go. He didn't understand why she was smiling like that. Vasilisa wanted to tell Dane that she wasn't dead, and they would meet again, so she didn't understand why he was so worried. He should be happy after all. Her brother had only gone to the family residence for a short time, but she didn't seem like the Vasilisa he knew. She can't go to me, because what will happen if her brother Castor comes to her? No one knows. If she wants to live, then she has no choice at all. Vasilisa was sitting very sleepy, so he decided to offer her sex. He would wake her up when they arrived. Vasilisa said that she would sleep a little then, and laid her head on the knight's shoulder. He doesn't know why the lady always tries to cope with everything alone. It's so sad, Lay told her not to worry, because he would definitely protect her. When they arrived, Lay carried the lady, and then she woke up and heard the voice of her brother and the knight. Dane put his hand on Vasilisa's head and said that everything was fine and she could sleep some more. He also apologized. It seems that Vasilisa wanted to tell him something, but she falls asleep again, so there is no opportunity at all. Then she remembered that she wanted to say that he was not guilty of anything, so he should not make such a face as he was now. The man was shocked that the princess had never walked around the capital. Vasilisa noticed that she was somehow not succeeding, and he considered this completely incredible. Therefore, he suggested that she go to the market square, the gladiator arena, also the shops and houses. The girl confessed that she grew up in the wilderness. The gentleman shouted that it was very noisy and ordered everyone to stop clowning around. It would be better not to think about how to increase the level of security in the capital. The guy didn't understand at all how his master could be so heartless, because he had heard that she had never been to the capital. To them, a walk around the capital seems like a trifle. And I say that the assistant's job will force her to run around the city, but she constantly sits in the palace. She wonders if the master knows what kind of princess she really is, and if he knows why she was sent here. Perhaps he is just keeping an eye on her. Unfortunately, she doesn't know the guy was shouting that the younger one would go with him to have fun, because they said that she needed a rest. The gentleman ordered him to be thrown out of the room and decided to ask the youngest if she wanted to go for a walk. The girl immediately said no. She didn't look like the type to contradict her superiors. Granius asked if she would go if he gave her a task. Vasilisa asked if he wanted her to help Sorix. That's right. Even if he makes her do something, she'll still go. Even if the workload is unfair. She's already learned that an assignment from her superiors is not unfair. Granius noted that she spoke as if she could never stand above others. Well, even though he can't let her go outside the walls, he still asked the guy to show her around the school building. The guy was very happy about this. It seemed that the other guys from the patrol wanted to see the youngest. Next time, he would definitely take her to the city center. The guy was very pleased. However, now, the representatives of the 4th Administrative Building are acting suspiciously. Vasilisa couldn't believe that such people were actually planning a rebellion. This guy was happy when he saw the squirrel. But it seems that, from Castor's point of view, they are acting incredibly stupidly. Vasilisa turned to Sorix and asked if she could ask something. The guy was, of course, not against her. Asking Vasilisa heard that His Majesty, the Emperor, and His Highness, the Crown Prince, were now in the capital. They say the Crown Prince is very handsome. Vasilisa decided to ask him what he thought of the Crown Prince. Sorix noted that it seemed she had never been warned not to talk about the Crown Prince. He did not even know how to express himself about this great man. His power inspires a feeling of deep respect and loyalty from all the priests. The heirs of the lesser gods like them can sense his presence. She cannot help but obey his will the moment she tries to refuse. She will experience unbearable pain. Such is the power of God. Vasilisa was shocked with you that everything was so serious. Anyone might say is almost a deity among mortals. Sorix noted that this is why no temple could ever go against the imperial family. Vasilisa asked what to do if such a powerful person had a black heart. The guy smiled and noted that she probably didn't have enough experience yet since she was asking such a question. Of course, the people have a choice, and this is the right to follow the best and most worthy successor. The emperor has 8 children, and he believes that they have the right to bow their heads to the one they sincerely want to follow. Excluding the exiled 3rd prince, there are still 7 people left, and if you exclude the sick 4th prince and the princess, who has not yet become a priestess, then there are not many candidates left. His Highness the Crown Prince already has a duke, but the rest do not yet have a guardian to share their lives with. Of all of them, he most eagerly awaits the arrival of the princess, the precious and beautiful flower of the empire. She must be a wonderful and intelligent person, and it will be enough for him to become her faithful knight. It's better if he doesn't wait for the princess to appear, because that's quite difficult. Vasilisa turned to Sorix and noted that the road seemed somehow strange, and that they had been walking for a long time, but she only saw grass. The guy said that they were going in the right direction, just a little bit more, and they would soon be there. He believed that it was wrong to make a loophole in a visible place. Vasilisa was shocked and asked what loophole he was talking about. After that, the guy gave her a hole and suggested going to see the capital. But the princess tried to stop him, because he only said that he would take her there next time. The guy noted that this would be true next time too, and now that next time had arrived, she can tell the elder one who is going to suffer through nonsense. For some reason, she feels like she was deceived somewhere. Sorix said it would be fun, Vasilisa isn't afraid, but she's worried about Granius's reaction. It will be problematic if he finds out that she is that princess. Mataus was up in the tree, asking where they were going, because they were kind of doing nothing, after which the priest jumped down and noticed that his close friend turned out to be a robber who had quit his job and was pushing the child and the like down a crooked path. Sorix asked what kind of bandit, because he seemed to have gone completely mad. He also hoped that his friend was not a criminal, and also said hello to the little girl. He couldn't face himself earlier, because he was busy with that thief. Then they met for the first time. If he hadn't been hanging around the palace so often, they would have met long ago, so the guy didn't tell him to come more often, because he was forced to do all the administrative work for him. Sorix told Vasilisa that this guy is Mataus, and he is good at catching criminals. The guy noted that she would understand me this way, and noted that he is actually a priest of thieves. The princess greeted him, and he immediately became embarrassed. Mataus immediately started asking why she was so tiny, because she didn't look 16 years old. Sorix hung him back, because he was being a tactless asshole. Meta said he missed a good show because I was looking for him. The guy didn't understand why it was his fault, and I told Mataus that he was late, and he came to pick her up, and he was just chilling out here. The guy admitted his guilt, but he wondered what good show he missed. The man said nothing special. So he tried to find Sir Josiane, and Sir Potateras were attacked by an unknown knight. The entire Hall of Freedom just went crazy. Sorix could ask if he wanted to say that the commanders were defeated. He did not understand at all how they could lose, because they are priests, swordsmen. After that, he decided to ask what kind of knight it was. Mataus noted that he didn't know, but he didn't look like a priest. Perenelle said that he didn't have any powers, because he just felt the flow of mana. And what's most frightening is that according to Sir, this guy could defeat even a high priest. He is not sure, but it seems that he recognized him from the men a long time ago. He was in the Central Division and the Imperial Palace. They say he was expelled. If it's the Central Division, then it's the absolute elite. And so they can't be sure that he's an ordinary person. It's just some kind of miracles to defeat the priest are not the same. They would like to take him on patrol. The lady couldn't hear anything because of the wind, but she could tell that he had dark hair and looked young. The lady was shocked when men began to stare at her, and she began to believe that they were those same patrolmen. They didn't understand at all why she was so small. They were seeing her for the first time, and she was so cute. Sorix asked them to move away because they could run her over. This is actually mean because many haven't even seen her yet. Only Adelis and Sorix play with this cute child. But they want it too. A bald man came out of the crowd and noted that he had already seen it, so he offered to be her friend. This is Chasson, the patrol leader, and the people who have already met the girl. Sorix asked them not to disgrace their patrol, and did not understand since when they go crazy at the mere sight of a child. Chasson noted that it was because she was cute. If he had children, they would be the same age now. They immediately showered her with candies and various gifts. They thought she really loved shiny things. Vasilisa was shocked that they carried bracelets with them just in case. This idiot is just like a winter beetle because he gave a child a shuriken. Everyone in the crowd tried to somehow attract attention to themselves. Sorix said that she must catch that they are priests of the god of wealth, and they love children her age. Everyone dreams of themselves and marriage with someone, so they invited her to show her everything. Vasilisa was sincerely happy when she played with them, And suddenly, someone came up to her. Vasilisa didn't understand where Sorix was. Mataus reported that he was urgently called to the main palace. And although it may seem otherwise, his abilities are quite useful. That's why this guy is often asked for help in other palaces. It's time for the lady to go back. She had fun today. Vasilisa shouldn't do this, but she's getting a little greedy. If she was going to live a life of turmoil and chaos, she wouldn't be able to stay in the administration for long. Suddenly, a white bird flew up to her, which at that moment made a sound resembling speech, and she was surprised to hear that this bird said something. As she thought about it, she thought the bird's voice was somehow familiar, and at that moment, she realized that she was surrounded by unknown people. She had no idea who these people were or what they wanted. Her confusion increased when one of them suddenly said her name, attracting her attention. One of them greeted her, calling her the precious flower of the empire and the 8th imperial child, which made her think even more. These people informed her that His Highness the Crown Prince was calling her and asked her to follow them without explaining the reason for such a sudden call. The girl did not understand at all what was happening because the bird that had just warned her had told her not to go, and now people were trying to convince her to do the opposite. Vasilisa cautiously asked if she could not go, and the men decided that her question was a sign of refusal, which caused them slight confusion. Of course, it would be better to go voluntarily so that no one would get hurt. Meanwhile, the knight was already waiting for her and was thinking that the lady was very late. Castor's palace, sole heliosphere, on the outer wall, not a single window. In short, this is a palace from which it is impossible to escape. And here we had the main character of the book, Rispella, locked in. The man told the lady that she could come in. She entered a very strange room, which was significantly different from her own or Amber's room, as if it was a place from a completely different world. The room was so empty that it seemed as if no one had ever lived there. Suddenly, the crown prince entered the room and greeted the lady with a slight smile. Vasilisa, remaining calm, greeted the prince as the sun that would in the future illuminate the entire empire with its light and wisdom. She also asked how his brothers were doing. The gentleman replied that he was doing well and that his brothers were also feeling great. Finally, he called her, and she was shocked because before she thought he didn't want to see her, and it made her anxious. The prince suggested that Vasilisa must have missed him, and the girl did not hesitate to confirm this, saying that of course she had missed him. Then she asked why he had invited her to the palace. The prince replied that he had a few questions for her and suggested that they get straight to the point. At that moment, she noticed Sorix. The prince asked if she knew him, to which the lady replied that they worked together and were well acquainted. She also asked her brother why they were involved with Sorix. The prince explained that it was because they were criminals, and that came with certain obligations. Vasilisa was very surprised by this, but in the meantime, the man turned to the crown prince and shouted that he wanted him to be cursed. The man replied that he should not even dream of taking the throne. God's blessing was losing its power, so the empire would go as soon as he became emperor. They, the priests of chaos, would not tolerate such a thing. They believed that the throne should go to a worthy heir, not a madman. The man pointed out that he cursed the soulless crown prince in the name of his destroyed homeland, and they would find the heir of death to light the way. Castor noticed that he was noisy and thought that his sister was probably scared. In fact, Vasilisa was not scared. She died more than 30 times, and she can answer calmly. So you wondered to yourself who was speaking just now. Castor was surprised at the saint that she had already forgotten that it was he who did not deserve forgiveness and who tried to strangle her. The girl thought about it and asked why Sorix was tied up then. It was because he couldn't hold on to something, that's why he ended up here. His tongue was too long. He couldn't believe that he dared to discuss it so carelessly. I don't think she knows that father, those who don't know how to watch their words, don't live long. Then the lady realized that it was all because she had asked him back then what she thought about the crown prince. And then he told her that she had never been warned not to talk about the crown prince. Castor he couldn't help but worry, leaving her in an unfamiliar place. And as soon as he got distracted, the 4th administrative building turned into a dangerous place. Castor became angry, and Vasilisa believed that the reason for his anger was concern for her because he always cared about her well-being. The prince noted that perhaps his uneasiness was due to the fact that she had called herself his sister, which strengthened their bond and made him more vulnerable to her suffering. She said that she loved him, and that he was the first one who saw something more in her than the others, and who heard such sincere words spoken for the first time, with such deep affection. So he reciprocated her feelings, and asked her what he could do for her to express his feelings and show how important she was to him. She realized that he was asking whether he should kill Sorix. So the lady asked him not to kill him, but rather to put him in prison and not give him food. If he was a bad man, such torture would be much more painful for him. The prince thought that it seemed that she had heard a lot of nonsense during her work. Perhaps someone had told her more than once how terrible he was describing his actions and character in the darkest colors, trying to turn her away from him. He can't imagine how hard it was for her to hear such words about her beloved brother, because it broke her heart every time someone cast a shadow on his reputation. Vasilisa denied everything and said that, in fact, she had heard a lot that she wanted to tell him. But the gentleman said that he would listen to her later. Vasilisa realized that he wanted her to witness someone die right before her eyes again, and this again caused her horror. So she begged for someone to help in this situation, and to her relief, the Duke suddenly appeared on the scene, ready to intervene. He apologized to the prince for his rudeness, realizing that he had crossed the line, but Castor asked him if he understood what he was doing now and what it would lead to. Granius was informed that two of his subordinates had been captured without good reason, and this made him feel indignant as the situation seemed unfair to him. He had forced the Duke to escort him here, so now he asked for forgiveness for his insolence, realizing that his actions could be seen as a challenge. Castor turned to him and realized that he was the construction manager. Granius was prepared to take the punishment, and yet he wondered if they knew that Sorix of Solatorium was his distant relative. Castor noted that he did not know, and asked if anyone could worry when he punished sinners. Vasilisa hoped that everything would be fine with him. Meanwhile, the chief asked what crime the priest Sorix had committed. The crown prince believed that it would be better for him to continue to sit quietly, pretend that he knew nothing, and turn a blind eye to what was happening outside the fourth building. So he was very curious about what had made him intervene. Granius looked down. The reason why God has not yet taken the side of either the first branch or the second branch is because of what he thought about him. I thought that if I waited, His Highness would become the same as before. While waiting for this day, he defended the place entrusted to him. He was his mentor after all. Vasilisa was very surprised when she heard that this man was the mentor of the crown prince. Granius said that God would protect the princess, so the crown prince asked if he could say that he knew enough about her. Granius agreed that he did not know her as well as His Highness, and noted that he was broken because of him. He believed that the Lord wanted to destroy her as well as the four princes. The mere appearance of the princess is not enough to make him act, and he has been serving the god for a long time. But in his breath, he waited for him to become the same, waited too long, and can no longer silently watch his madness. Castor asked what he was going to do. Granius said that under his supervision, the princess would never grow up to be a good person. Therefore, he will help the princess on behalf of the fourth prince, whom God could not save. So he asks Castor to understand his old mentor, and he hopes that, as a former teacher, he can give him advice. Granius asked the crown prince to reconsider his approach to the people's affairs, to bless the Solid Palace today, and to take the second prince into his stead. The prince understood him, and then began to laugh very loudly and creepily. Today, he lost his faithful mentor, and this is very sad. Castor asked Vasilisa if she had heard that he was now alone. Come to think of it, he was in a bad mood when he heard that she had been hurt, and he wondered why that had happened. The thing is, it was someone else who hurt her, not him. It seems he likes her very much. But by following him, his sister will fall into the hands of the old rats from the Senate and be sold to a disgusting place. That's what they usually do, the old men standing behind the second prince. That's why he doesn't want to leave his precious sister in their dirty hands. Castor really doesn't want to see this, so from now on, at that very moment, he swung at the lady. Afterwards, he noticed that he had completely forgotten about Hernan, who was already holding the lady in his arms. He asked him to disappear, but the gentleman asked him to wait and allow him as his close friend to ask one question. He must know if the master is really going to kill Her Highness. If so, Castor wonders if he is going to stop him. Hernan thought that he was not his equal, and even now, he broke the sword and took a blow. So she wonders why he was protecting her. Hernan stopped him as a friend and will accept any punishment later, so he asks him to listen to his request now. Perhaps the gentleman remembers that he once agreed to fulfill any request of his if it was within his power, so he asks for the wish of his only guardian to be fulfilled. He asks that the master not kill the princess now and in the future. The prince said that if that was his wish, he would fulfill it. Hernan ordered Granius to return to work. Vasilisa noticed that he only moved his lips without making a sound, but she clearly understood what he said, that he was congratulating her. The lady turned to the duke. Hernan already knew what she wanted to ask him, but he asked her to wait a little. The lady asked him to take her to the carriage. The gentleman thought that it would be faster through the forbidden forest, but the lady was already expected. Now he said something about the forbidden forest, but she didn't tell Hernandez anything about the forbidden forest. She didn't think she was pretending well enough, so she asked him to answer. He knows not only that she is pretending to be an idiot, but also that she was in the forbidden forest. The duke asked the princess to be quiet, because there were too many prying ears here. If she wants, he can pretend he doesn't know anything. From now on, he would keep everything she ordered a secret. Vasilisa did not understand why she and what he was going to keep, and what he knew. He apologized for not protecting her before now. His voice sounded surprisingly soft and gentle. It's very strange. He spoke and acted like a completely different person. She simply has no words, and she does not understand why he did not help her before. Why he helped her now remains a mystery. Vasilisa said that neither the fact that he saved her, nor the fact that he promises to protect her, makes her happy. She asked him why he decided to intervene now, because he was also a bad person. He just had to stay as bad as Castor. He just had to be like that. So the princess screamed at him to stop pretending to be caring and to stop treating her well. Vasilisa asked how much longer he would make her feel sorry for herself, because she hated feeling helpless. The duke was in complete shock and did not understand what the lady was talking about. But he was sure of one thing. What happened today wasn't her fault, and it put her in danger because she didn't know anything. Hernan is very sorry. And the lady decided to ask what she didn't know. It was about the scar on her cheek. He understands that she may not accept his sudden apology because he cannot even tell her the whole truth. She doesn't want to believe that the man standing in front of her, ready to burst into tears, is sincerely asking for forgiveness, because then she doesn't know what to do with what she's already been through. The gentleman, in a panic, asked the princess for forgiveness and asked her not to cry, but Vasilisa said that she was not crying anyway. She asked him to speak frankly. She did not understand a word of what he said, so he decided to apologize again. But the lady shouted that if he couldn't explain normally, then he should stop apologizing. Who what he did to her all those years ago can only be called an unforgivable sin. She is cursed. Hernan asked if Oleg had heard the curse that is imposed at birth. The curse will not disappear until the caster dies, he explained, but the lady did not understand at all what exactly he was talking about and what curse was meant. Suddenly, she remembered that this was the same curse that bound her like chains, and it was hard to believe because she thought that it had disappeared long ago. Hernan is currently limited by an extremely powerful Vetu, and so he cannot tell the whole truth, but all he wants is for her to live long and take all the happiness he can give her. He sincerely wishes that she at least be happy, and hopes that his judgments are correct, despite the restrictions he is forced to observe. He still pretended not to know her, thinking it was a way to protect her, because before he thought that such a disguise was the best option in the current circumstances. The princess did not know about his past, which was known only to him, and therefore they talked about different things, not fully understanding each other. The lady noticed that he was bleeding heavily, but he calmly replied that everything was fine, assuring her that it was just a small scratch, not worth attention. Vasilisa couldn't understand how he could claim that everything was okay, because the situation looked serious, and she didn't understand why he was talking about it so thoughtlessly. Even I know that rushing forward is not the best decision in the end. He will not turn away from the princess, and the day will come when she will learn the whole truth. And he wonders if she will blame him. Then he understands that apologies are pointless here. The lady said that then he could apologize to me. And then she felt that the plants were grabbing her. Amber came out of nowhere and noted that Hernandez really shouldn't. Now she realized that they were in Amor's garden. Hernan was very surprised when he saw the four princes. and the prince ordered him to let the eighth princess go home immediately, because the longer she was with him, the more attention her brother would pay to him. Amor would like to see her off, but he can't, because the eighth princess who came here needs to return home as soon as possible. Hernan said that he would then escort the princess, but the prince said that there was no need for that. It seemed to her that someone else had already come to do it. Lei had already arrived and asked the princess if she was injured. She said that she was not at all. Then the knight told her to go back to the carriage because he had already prepared it. Hernan told the lady that he was not her enemy and that she, of course, could not believe him, and, well, he hopes that in the future she will be happier than she is now. The lady did not answer him. Vasilisa turned to Lei and said that it was time for them to go. Castor and Hernan and Granius, too. It seems like everyone in the world is doing just fine except for her. But she is very happy with the fact that she was able to survive without the help of the diary. But at the same time, it left a feeling of anxiety and heaviness in her chest. The lady asks her for permission to ask. There is one, but one day he lost his memories and did a good deed for her. So she wonders if she should think he's good. Lei immediately answers no. In her memories, he was still the evil person who had done her harm. After that, the princess laughed loudly. Vasilisa thought he thought she was crying, so she smiled at him. Lei told the lady to just cry, but the lady believed that crying would only make it hurt more. Lei believed that she needed to cry, even if it hurt, and he would protect her from that pain. Vasilisa simply has no tears after that day. After she died, many times, she no longer cried. During this time, she realized that such things no longer touched her, so she would use everything she could. And so, a year later, she learned the secret of her diary. The sixth prince, Fladeon, also known as Fleon, was sitting in his office deep in thought. One day, an amazing flower blossomed in the empire, and the daughter of the most beautiful woman in the empire was born. The maid told him that the girl was incredibly pretty, and she was sure that in the future, this girl would become the personification of the beauty of the empire. Mother told Fleon that the girl would not hear good words in the future. Unfortunately, it was all about the cheek. It was not her fault. One scar crossed out the princess's wonderful future. So she asked Fleon to promise her to treat her little sister well. The lady asked her baby to take care of the small and weak. He was brought out of his thoughts by the princess who came to him. She said that he had a lot to do and asked if a member of the imperial family could afford to sit and sigh. Fleon, of course, is painfully in charge of his own life, but he still has to think about what he will do if he can't pass that difficult thing again next year. Something had changed with his little sister, whom his mother had asked him to protect. Since that day, a year ago, she had changed. Vasilisa told her brother to work, and she would go to the library. For now, Fleon did not understand at all what had happened to his sister, and in the meantime, the lady went into the library and opened her book there. The diary began making predictions again, and she didn't even think that it would ever become active again, since so much time had passed since its last activity. She had learned about the new entries in the diary about a month ago. That day, while embroidering, she checked it out of habit and noticed stains of dried blood on the cover, which alarmed her greatly. A whole year had passed since she had started working for Granius, having escaped Castor's wrath. Life was gradually returning to normal, and events seemed less dangerous. Vasilisa would like everything to remain as it is now. On the one hand, it was good that the diary was active again, because it opened up new possibilities for her. However, she realized that she was almost broken by everything she had been through, and now she was not sure that she would ever be able to find true happiness and peace of mind. Now it is time to gather information again and prepare to fight the predetermined future described in the diary without making the same mistakes as before. She needed to learn as much as she could about the firing temple depicted on the cover of the diary. Any information about it could be extremely useful in her plans. Today, she decided to study with her brother. Fleon members of the imperial family must pass an exam to prove their qualifications. A young man will do it at the age of 18 to 19, and girls at 17 to 18. To pass the coming-of-age ceremony, you must pass the exam well. Vasilisa told her brother to concentrate, because if he failed this year and had to pass next year, he would be a disgrace to the family. Fleon said that there was nothing, and she always told him whatever she wanted, so he called her to him with his finger. After that, he pulled her cheek and began to ask how her family could pronounce something like that. Vasilisa asked, How about solving a couple of problems they mock others? Vasilisa started asking when she did that, and then Dane came into the room and told his brother to stop because it hurt hers. When the guy saw how red her cheek was, he immediately asked if it hurt a lot, but the lady said that it didn't matter at all. Fleon then told his brother that she was not in pain. Lay asked His Highness how he could not be in pain, so he immediately told the knight to shut up. As expected, she feels nothing. She recently realized something. With the appearance of the diary, she gained the ability to not only read the predictions on its pages, but she has practically stopped feeling pain. She doesn't know if it's a blessing to feel nothing or a curse. Fleon told her to speak up if she was in pain, because before she cried, as if she would die from pain if she was touched. Vasilisa asked when this had happened and noted that in any case, he should control his strength because another girl would have already thrown a fit. The guy was surprised when she said something about another girl and was shocked that she wanted to say that she was not like that. Dane was upset because she was so careless about herself, so he asked her if everything was okay. The lady said again that everything was fine. When he sees Vasilisa, he feels a strange uneasiness. A year ago, after he left for a week, he began to think that she had changed, as if there was a different person in front of him. A lot has changed, but some things have remained the same as they were 39 times. Brothers who love her and a reliable knight. Vasilisa noted that it would be wonderful if every day were like today. She wouldn't mind if every next day was like this one. Fleon was shocked when she said that she wanted the boring and tedious school day to never end, because it sounded completely incomprehensible to him. She must understand that her words can be misinterpreted, especially when she is alone among others, and as long as they live together, such days will be repeated again and again until she gets tired of it. He says that there are more fun and exciting days ahead of them, full of adventures and unexpected moments that will make their life interesting. So her brother asked her to screw on her face and smile, because she was acting like an idiot. Dane turned to his brother and remarked that he would have been touched by his words if he had lingered at the end. Lay noted that he might be overstepping his bounds, but the sixth prince didn't always do that. It doesn't matter, but Vasilisa should speak up next time if it hurts her so much, and his brother should stop laughing, and the knight is fired altogether. Vasilisa laughed at these words. Her brother didn't care, even if she was hiding something. If she wanted peace, then so be it. He would do anything for her, and he was sure that his brother thought the same Forbidden Forest. Although it was time to fight the prescribed future, she still had to check something. The guards are already there and have started barking at the princess. It seems that it won't be that easy to get away from them. In that case, she'll climb the tree this time too. It's just creepy. She was only going to take another look at the Forbidden Forest. The dogs began to jump on the tree, causing the branch to shake and the lady to begin to fall. She couldn't believe that she was wrong, and this time she would die like this. With one swing, all the guards were killed, and the man said that he knew she would be here. When she heard these voices, she realized that it was her brother and the knight. Lay noted that they could not find her because she had gone too far. Vasilisa already thought that she would die again because the circumstances were against her, and her brother thought about the meaning of her words, trying to understand how serious the situation was. He carefully placed her on the ground and, looking into her eyes, asked if she was okay. Vasilisa replied that everything was fine, despite the fact that danger was literally following her on her heels. She didn't know until the end that she would escape death, and so she was sincerely glad when she realized that it was all over. In addition, the guys noticed that she had a book in her hands that attracted their attention. On the 7th day of the month of Hibernia, in the year 823, in order to reveal the secret, she went into the Forbidden Forest, met the murderer there, and died. The killer was definitely supposed to appear in the forest today, so I didn't understand why he never showed up. On the 8th day of the month of Hibernia, in the year 823, she died at the hands of a mercenary whom she met at night. On the 9th day of the month of Hibernia, in the year 823, she died at the hands of a mercenary while going out on the terrace at night. On the 10th day, she died at the hands of a mercenary while walking at night with Hannah, but she never saw the killer's face, so she has to consider whether preventing Amer's death changed the way she dies at the hand of the crown prince. However, everything is not, so the entries in the diary changed only after she met Castor and escaped death. This means that something is now preventing her death, and she should have died at the hands of a mercenary 3 times already. And the fact that the events that repeated themselves over and over again never happened is considered impossible. That is simultaneously with the events in the diary. Something happens that she does not know about. Granius said he thought that for her own safety, she should hide her identity until she became an adult. Today is a day off. Suddenly, the princess's brother ran up to her and grabbed her hand. The lady did not understand at all where Fleon was leading her. Therefore, she began to ask him, but the guy said that she would find out when they arrived. The elder brother Fleon has been arrogant and selfish since childhood. If he didn't like a maid, he would immediately say so. It was always difficult to communicate with him. In the end, the lady asked where they were now. The guy did not tell her to come in. Vasilisa was surprised, because as far as she knew, her brother hated flowers. Fleon himself noted that he also couldn't stand the smell and didn't like looking at them. But she likes them, and he seriously brought her here because she likes flowers. A lot had changed here, so he thought she would like it all. Among all the flowers, the sixth prince especially hates roses. When he was little, he became very ill after eating a cake, so he doesn't like sweets. Although he doesn't like me, flowers or sweets, there is something on the table that she likes. Vasilisa asked if he was worried about her, because she didn't understand why he had prepared all this. Fleon became embarrassed and asked who had told her that it was all for her. Meanwhile, Vasilisa simply thanked him. After this, the girl suggested telling the secret to her brother, and he began to ask what they were talking about. The lady said that she was much older than she looked. Fleon said that he already knew that she was a grumpy old woman in a child's body. Vasilisa told him that she was serious, and in any case, she was grateful to him only now she could forget with us. Forget the horror of the day she died for the first time. Today is the day the mercenary is supposed to come. Vasilisa did not understand at all why her head was so heavy. She could not fall asleep. She thought about when the mercenary would come, and because of this, she began to fall asleep. When the criminal began to swing at the lady, he was immediately subdued by his brother and knight. Dane noted that they would have problems if the princess woke up. Lay added that she was sleeping so soundly that she wouldn't even notice if she was kidnapped. It was interesting who sent him this time. It was completely unclear who did it, because today there were already 2. Now the criminal understood how his predecessors died. Dane said goodbye to them and noted that his soul would wander in hell forever. They really wanted Vasilisa to sleep peacefully because her brother and knight would protect her sleep. Fleon failed the exam. Vasilisa told him that there would be another exam next year, but he asked her to just keep quiet. Because of this, he will rent it out along with her and Dane. The maids laugh, and it is not very nice of them. Vasilisa said she didn't know what tricks they used, but somehow they still dared to fail him. Lay asked what would happen if they failed again next year. Dane congratulated his sister on her 18th birthday. He said that she would be happy, and he promised it. She is surrounded by kindness and care, so she is very happy. She hopes that one day everything will be fine. The year changed, and she became an adult, and now she is at an age when she can get married. In the future, the princess can try her hand at accounting. She is very smart, so she will quickly understand what is what. Vasilisa asked for forgiveness and asked again if Fene was doing this. The gentleman laughed and said that therefore he would correct all the mistakes she made. Fene said the gentleman that he himself knew, because he was already overloaded with work. Vasilisa asked if it was true. Granius laughed again and noted that what he knew shouldn't change anything. A year had passed since she started working in his office, and suddenly he decided to take charge of her education himself. Granius conducted a couple of tests, noted with some surprise that she was extremely smart, and after that he began her training: public administration, economics, tax analysis, etc. She studied theory and applied knowledge in practice in solving various administrative issues related to the management of the capital. It was like the education that members of the imperial family should receive, but to be honest, her status as a princess. To put it in culinary terms, it is an ingredient of low quality, unsuitable for the haute cuisine of the imperial family. Vasilisa's coming-of-age ceremony could not be compared with that of her brothers, who had already gone through it, and since she had no relatives on her mother's side, there was no force supporting her. She was fortunate to study with Dane and Fleon, but despite this, the education she received was very limited, and there was little opportunity for independent development. The teacher often asked her if she understood the position of the flower of the empire, hinting at its future role in the socio-political structure. Although her face was considered hideous by the standards of those around her, she had to become a worthy bride, since this place was not intended for intelligent and independent women. It was an era of a kind of romanticism when medieval and ancient ideas were mixed, and women were often seen as a tool for gaining power through marriage. The girls here were raised to be excellent brides who would strengthen the family's position, and she was no exception to this rule. The teacher told her that since her face was ugly by conventional standards, she should be more modest and quiet so as not to draw undue attention to her shortcomings. A woman needs to be smart only to make a foolish face in front of a man in time. She considered the terrible face of the only princess of the empire and a disaster for the country. But Granius thought differently about it. He said that he knew that there were some restrictions for the princess, and these restrictions were only imposed by tradition. Even now, princes working as high-ranking officials put a lot of effort into improving their skills and gaining experience. Vasilisa asked if there was a law that prohibited princesses from doing the same. The man said that he believed in her abilities. That's what he said then. This is a job that another princess did in the past. The lady thought he was talking about accounting, and he confirmed it. He's talking about another princess, but she's currently the only princess, so she doesn't understand who he's even talking about. Perhaps he got it mixed up. It turns out that this happens to him. The gentleman suggested that the princess seemed to be in a good mood. Vasilisa noted that this was indeed the case, so Granius began to believe that she was wasting this place. The fears and anxiety still remained, but at the moment she felt at peace. Granius asked the princess if she was going to go to dinner, but the lady said that she was not hungry at all. She also wished, oh my God, to eat well. Granius Kogo that she is not heard to skip meals, because everyone is so worried about her, because she looks much smaller than her peers. Vasilisa laughed. Both men and women in the empire were distinguished by their strong bodies and tall stature, but for some reason she was so much smaller and thinner than her peers, although she was not far from coming of age. Considering that she will be 19 in a month. If you think about it, the main character of this book, Rusbella, should appear soon, and she should also be a tall and slender beauty. The lady told him that it was all right, even if she did not eat now, so she wished him bon appetit, not wanting to disturb him with her personal affairs and feelings. In fact, she would very much like to eat with him, but circumstances force her to refuse, because today she cannot be in this place and eat. If she eats anything, she will surely die. Year 824, 17th day of the month of Hibernia. Poison was found in her food, which greatly shocked her. She did not understand at all how poison could suddenly appear in her food, because her dishes are always checked, and such incidents had never happened before. Perhaps this has something to do with the fact that Granius has decided to go under the protection of the second prince, and now she too may find herself drawn into his political intrigues. The lady was walking in the garden when several delicate petals unexpectedly landed on her hand, and she immediately realized that it was a letter from Amor. She was very happy because the letter said that she should come to him right now, and this meant that he wanted to see her again. He called her to him, so she did not waste time and went to him immediately. When she entered the room, she saw him standing there with two strange women. The prince was glad that she came, but the girl still could not understand who these women were and why they were here next to him. By the time Rusbella was in Caltagnas, the people living in the empire had adopted many of the traditions of the kingdom of Walter, considered a great cultural power. Thanks to this, as it was written, everything in the empire was familiar to her. Initially, the people of Caltagna wore clothes very similar to those of ancient Greece or Rome, and they called this fashion the traditional school. On the other hand, admirers of the culture of the kingdom of Walter dressed in dresses and costumes of the European Middle Ages. This trend in fashion was especially popular among young people. Castor, who insisted only on imperial traditions, adopted the culture of the Walter kingdom after falling in love with Rusbella. In front of her were two ladies dressed completely differently. The lady asked him if this girl was the one he wanted to introduce to them. Amor said that they were absolutely right, and asked the princess to play along with him. The gentleman told the women to say hello, because she was the 8th Veda in the empire, and his only younger sister. The gentleman remarked that she was even more beautiful today. The woman was shocked when he said that she was his sister, and then she realized that she was a princess. Amor said that she was very important to him. The gentleman turned to Aventa and asked her what was the matter, and noted that it seemed that her head was not so dear to her, or because he is not her brother. She takes his words as a joke. The woman asked to ask for her impoliteness, an endless word to the most precious flower of the empire. The Duke of Aventa's wife, Leia Aventa, greets the princess 8th century in the empire. Vasilisa also greeted her. The princess introduced herself and thought it was quite plausible. Amor said that Madame should introduce herself too, because he didn't want her to call her by another name. The other woman was named Alice Neve Seletion, and she was also a duchess. Vasilisa noticed that she used the Walter salute instead of the imperial salute. Besides, she had seen Alice's name somewhere before. It seemed to be in a book. The gentleman turned to the ladies and said that he wanted one of them to become the maid of honor of this child. Members of the royal family must have a lady-in-waiting or chamberlain, as the lady-in-waiting plays a very important role in preparing for the coming-of-age ceremony. The women were surprised and asked if he meant to say that the princess had not had it until now. He turned to Honortus Aventa and remarked that he had done her a great service. It was the prince who took the medicine that saved her husband, and he did something for the duchess as well. It's important to me. Which of the two of them agrees? The main thing is that she becomes an excellent assistant for his sister. The duchess said that she then wanted to refuse, because she still seemed not to understand the situation she was in. Since she doesn't have the necessary social skills, it won't be hard to figure out what kind of future awaits her after her debut. That's why she would like to give up. The other woman doesn't understand at all how she can say such a thing to the princess. The woman asked her not to address her like that, because they are not that close. And with Aeolisia, even more so, the girl realized that it was about her mother. The lady asked the 4th prince to allow her to repay his kindness in some other way. She is a retired priestess who has long lost her powers, so she wants to forget about the imperial family. Amor pointed out that it was his mistake, because he thought that if she saw this child, she would remember someone. The duchess remarked that she had already said that she and the traitor Aeolisia were my friends. The lady said she would give advice. A lady-in-waiting could be either her most faithful ally or a knife aimed at her heart, and she will never be able to know or guess when exactly that knife will stick in. She sincerely wishes that their timid princess will meet a reasonable and wise man. This woman reminded her of her brother in appearance, but at the same time was completely different from him, so she was interested in what connects this woman with the imperial family. Eventually, this girl would become her lady-in-waiting. The duchess was very grateful for the favor shown to the princess, and said that she would do everything in her power for her. She and her mother were close friends once everyone left. Then it means that there is no more doing. Amor stopped her with plants and asked where she went, and also asked her to stay. Vasilisa thought that he could have simply said it with words, instead of grabbing her with his plants. Suddenly, Amor fell to the floor, and when the girl ran up to him, she realized that he was hot and began to ask if he was okay. She asked him to come to his senses, but the gentleman asked her not to make such a noise because his head was already splitting. Amor said that he would just sit there because he had worked hard to prepare everything. The prince noticed that she was so cold, and that was not a bad thing. Vasilisa asked if he really hadn't taken the medicine, and the prince told her to forget about it. The girl said that she didn't understand what this senseless lie was about, since he still hadn't taken the medicine. Amor didn't understand how he could have managed to take the medicine. They just arrived earlier than he expected. Vasilisa screamed at him not to move, because she could bring it to him in a moment. He had never shown pain before. Amor asked if he could ask her something, and the princess immediately agreed. He asked if she had regained her ability, and the girl did not understand at all what he was talking about and why he was asking about it. The prince told her not to play dumb, because when she broke into his room a few years ago, she knew the truth that no one could tell her. He assumed she knew what was going to happen today, and he noted that, even if that was true, he had no intention of treating her any differently. The girl does not understand at all what he is talking about, and thought that her brother was very ill. Amor said that he is not crazy. Afterwards, he took her by the cheek and asked why she was silent, since she was better at coming up with an excuse, and also to make him sympathize with her. 3 years ago, she seemed to offer to become partners, and the girl did not deny it. That's why I agreed to become partners. Now he and she are similar. So Amor decided that he would help her. He simply had no other choice. The lady asked why this was so. For the last 2 years, they had not raised the topic of what had happened in Castor's palace. Rather, they did not talk about the past at all until today. They just spent time idly together. She thought it was some kind of response to her proposal, but now he decided to show sympathy to her. Amor laughed at her when she extended her hand to him and offered to cooperate, so she asked him how he could talk about it so easily now, since he had been silent all this time. Vasilisa was fine on her own. She decided she would give him a chance to refuse right now for giving her a hint, and then how to avoid a repeat curse. He watched her life through the plant and said that now she is in danger and suspicious too many things that he cannot explain. Vasilisa said that if she was so suspicious, she did not understand why he had not changed his mind. The prince noted that this was not a whim. Gradually, he began to notice many small details and cannot close his eyes to them, so the prince wants to help her, and in return, he asks her to tell him the truth. Vasilisa asked again. What was he talking about? Amr wanted to know if she could see the future prevent deaths. She didn't know what to answer or what to do if she told him, and then died again, and he forgot all about it. But the words just came out of her mouth, so she told her brother that he was right, and she was very interested in whether he could understand hers. Vasilisa said that she sees the future, or rather, only her death, and the deaths of people close to her. Only she could save him, or maybe she had experienced countless deaths herself. Amr asked if she wanted to say that it was no coincidence that day, and she knew his tea was poisoned. The lady confirmed this. She did not know how her confession could change the original plot in the book. He was a very important secondary character, and it was unknown how her intervention would affect his life. Vasilisa believed that he would tell the crown prince about this, but the fourth prince denied it. He didn't even think of telling his brother this. Vasilisa was getting up, that even if she died today and this day was messed up again, she wouldn't regret it. The fourth prince is a puppet, a loser like her, whose life like hers depends on the diary. Amor noted that this was excellent, and from now on he would look after her and protect her. Vasilisa asked what would change from this, and the guy replied that then she would not die. The girl asked why he said that, and thought that because of this, that he would protect her. Amor said that because of this, that he does not think that her life is more painful than death. His expression was hard. There was not a drop of his former kindness left on his face, so the lady noticed that this was a good calculation. An involuntary smile appeared on her face. Meanwhile, the Duke was waiting for her, and thinking that the princess was late today. He was standing with a bouquet. Then the bird landed on his shoulder and said something. The Duke agreed with her and noted that it was indeed sad to return. He can't even take a step because he wanted to see her so much today, so he doesn't understand where she is. Too bad he found flowers that were perfect, but unfortunately, he won't even be able to see her hold them. And now, that very day has come the money of her birth, in order for her to be recognized as an adult. First, she needs to go through the coming-of-age ceremony at the end of the year. Well, even after this, nothing changes dramatically in life. Now, the Empire is holding a national holiday week, which begins after the end of the sowing season, the so-called vacation. So Granius told the princess that she should rest. He had no idea what he was thinking. The lady assumed her brother was talking about Dane. Fleon said so because he answered sharply when he asked questions, and they don't see each other often. Besides, the atmosphere in the imperial family is not very good lately. Every day, the members of the imperial family and nobles, who are deprived of divine power, are more and more condemned. Fleon thought it must be me who was making fun of him and Dane now. The lady noted that this meant that they would also make fun of her, and this greatly surprised her brother. He didn't understand at all why she would think about it, since Dane and that guy were here. It's been 19 years since she was reincarnated in the book, and all this time she had only one goal. She always wanted to stay alive, and also destroy her older brother Castor. She will continue to do everything to survive, and gradually reduce the distance between them. And then one day she will be able to achieve her goal, the lady thought as she looked around. She didn't understand what this strange atmosphere was. And suddenly, one of the maids turned to the princess. She reported that the Duke had come again, so the lady became tense. Vasilisa asked the maid to take her to the living room. The woman, of course, did not mind. 3 months ago, Hernan started visiting her. They didn't see each other for some time after that. when he saved her from Castor. Then he flew up to her, saying that they hadn't seen each other for a long time, and asked if everything was okay with the princess. From that day on, Hernan began to come to her once a week, each time bringing new flowers. However, it was unpleasant for her. Of course, she thinks that it would be better to smile stupidly at him, as well as at Castor, and get closer to him. She doesn't need his feelings. All she wants is to somehow get information, but for now, she's only thinking about it. So she kept telling the Duke to get out of here. Eventually, the wastebasket became a flower vase, and this has been going on for 3 months now. This was on his 10th visit. Hernan asked the lady if she was doing well. The lady remarked that she was doing well until recently. Fleon asked them tomorrow because they had a relationship. Hernan was scared when he saw the noble branch in the Empire number 6. And the boy asked what was between the two of them. Hernan informed him that it was only a one-sided relationship and smiled at him. The lady did not understand at all what he had just said, and understood that if he spoke like that, her brother would think the wrong thing. Fleon began to ask if his younger sister was really that age. Vasilisa asked him to wait, because he had misunderstood everything. He said that he would like to keep this chick next to him, but it's not like that, and he still understands how much of a man she is. Vasilisa said that it was not so, and asked if he could hear what was being said to him. It was as if he had gone deaf. It is true, although he does not see the noble priests in the reflection, but not a single mistake was noticed behind him. The Duke was very surprised by this. If it's the Duke, then everything is fine and they can go on a date. Now it's not far from the wedding. However, Fleon told him to keep in mind that if he was to make her cry, then he was a dead man. He is not even a father to propose to anyone, so Vasilisa is in complete shock. The lady asked the Duke to follow her, because she would like to walk with him in the garden. She noted that it was quite dark here because no one came here. From here, it is only a 20-minute walk to the fence beyond, which the forbidden forest begins. Even the maids do not go there because it is dangerous. Hernan remarked that it was a beautiful day, and the lady apologized and said that she could not stand sunny days. Hernan was surprised that this was true, and remarked that in that case, from now on, he too would hate sunny days. The lady was completely shocked by this, and she understood that she shouldn't fall for it, because this man is not a peaceful person at all. He makes others misunderstand him. Personal conversations and such, she doesn't want to just talk to him. A year ago, he saved her from her brother, and the fact that he visits her so often lately is probably his order. She just wanted to decide everything and go their separate ways. But the Duke started to take her away that nothing of the sort, and everything was completely wrong. Hernan said that the princess would most likely not believe him, but that day His Highness did not intend to kill. Vasilisa asked him what he was talking about and thought that he was going to defend him, and then she noted that he was his knight, so she had no reason to be angry that he took his master's side. The Duke said that everything is not like that at all, and the swordsman has the so-called energy of rage, and when he is about to kill someone, it manifests itself in the sword. That day, His Highness's sword did not have this energy. Only when His Highness saw him running, he directed his power into the sword. That's why he got injured, and it was his mistake. At that moment, he didn't think twice. He rushed to intercept him, and it made him feel uncomfortable. If he hadn't intervened, then he might have stopped the sword halfway. Vasilisa believed that this was why he wanted to say that her brother was not guilty of anything. Hernan said that His Highness was wrong. This man is Castor's personal knight. He carries out his every order without question and makes no distinction between good and evil. But he just condemned his master. These are not the words that a devoted servant can say about his master. It's probably because he feels guilty, but she doesn't understand what it is. She didn't understand why he was telling her all this. The gentleman said that it was all because she was interested in knowing the truth about that day. Vasilisa screamed and asked if he was saying that the truth was that there was no energy that day. She asked him what about her, what about the horror she had experienced, and asked him if he thought it would change anything. It wouldn't change anything, she had been through so much. The gentleman turned to the princess again, but Vasilisa only thanked him for saving her, but asked him not to pretend that he cared as if he were her knight, because she finds it disgusting. That day was a nightmare for her. She will never be able to erase it from her memory for the rest of her life. Fear that someone else would die because of her fear that she would die herself. Back when he was treating her neck, they had a conversation about his indifference. The Duke noted that this seemed to be the case, so the girl told him to continue to behave in this manner. Hernan grabbed her hand and said that if she were happy now, he would never have appeared in front of her. Vasilisa asked him if he really thought she was unhappy and asked who he was to measure her happiness. The Lord believed that she wanted to know the true face of His Highness. She hated her elder brother, so she wanted to destroy him. Vasilisa asked what would happen if that were the case, since he was speaking as if he was going to tell her how to do it. If this is her wish, then even if she wishes for the death of his master, he would want to be near her. So the gentleman asked if it was strange. Vasilisa asked what? Then if she really wanted to do it, he thought he could give her a hint, even if he becomes even more terrible to her. Even if she hates him, everything will be fine. So he asks the lady to look at her because he doesn't want to regret anymore. He came because he wants to become her sword. Vasilisa hates Castor, and she hates the Duke who is next to him, so she doesn't understand why he says this at all. Hernan simply considered himself guilty, and he realized too late that she was unhappy. He couldn't know about her reincarnation, so she decided to ask him what he knew. The gentleman said that he knew something about her childhood that she did not remember. The girl realized that he was talking about her scar, so she asked if she could find out more. He was her brother's knight, so he should know what he was talking about. Vasilisa turned to the Duke and asked him to explain to her why someone like him would serve such a powerless princess like her. It's all because there is something he wants to see, but the princess didn't understand what was being discussed. Hernan just wants to see her smile. And if he sees her smile, he'll do anything. Who is this princess? Began to laugh wildly. If everything is as he says, then she does not understand why he did nothing before she died. Who watched her being killed, now handed her the hilt of his sword. But why is not clear. The lady feels uncomfortable from the loving look he is looking at her with. So she decided to ask him if he would do anything if she smiled, and he immediately confirmed it. Now it's clear the real ones are different from what they were then. He just watching her is no longer there, and no one remembers that day, so she doesn't understand why it makes her so sad. The Duke remarked that of course it would be difficult for her to believe, since he had sworn his share to serve his master faithfully, but still he will devote the rest of his life to her and wants to be near her. The princess became very interested in what was so special that happened that time, that he was doing something like this for her. Vasilisa said that if this is really what he wants to say, then he should point his sword at him in front of her and say those words again. She thought it was very funny, even though he didn't kill her anymore. Her hatred for him only grew stronger. The lady remarked that this was excellent and he could do whatever he wanted. She didn't know why, but she felt sorry for him. From the moment he neglected her, all his promises became just empty words. After this, the lady turned away and left. Meanwhile, the fourth prince was already waiting for her. A month later, the lady's hands are shaking, but she is not distracted at all. At the end of the year, there will be a coming-of-age ceremony where high society girls will be judged. The real war to pass the exam began, so her etiquette lessons with the Duchess resumed. She said that she would be hosting a banquet with you on her own, and that she would need to think through the menu and be able to explain how this or that dish was prepared. She must be able to read poetry both in the imperial language and in modern language, so she must be fluent in them. Sometimes she will even need to write poetry herself. Vasilisa is well versed in the latest fashion trends of the empire and dress styles, but in this grana musical instruments, the ability to conduct a conversation is very difficult for her. There is a very good reason for such a deep study of culture. Previously, she did not know that she had a very important role in society. The women of the imperial family are the trendsetters of the empire, and she heard that many in the country copied their hairstyles and clothes. Looking at statues in public places, or at the profile engraved on the obverse of coins. But the etiquette teacher didn't tell her about this, and perhaps it's because of the scar. She didn't understand why she had this feeling that she needed to double her academic performance 3 months before. Since she is a quick learner, the girl who becomes her maid of honor will appreciate it. Come to think of it, Vasilisa doesn't even know who it will be. Well, it will be good if she turns out to be a simple, nice girl. After all, she would like to be friends with her. The woman noted that it was quite quiet here, and Vasilisa said that this was because people didn't come here. But if she hadn't said that, it was different here before she had told her earlier that she was a close friend of her mother. Duchess Seletion was also one of them. Although they were very close, but due to differences in views, their paths diverged. Soon, this room would only be a reminder of her. Come to think of it, it had been a month and a half since she had decided to train her. Vasilisa was very grateful for her kindness, but the Duchess said that she was not worth the gratitude. Because she counts, because she will become a worthy lady, and she noted because tomorrow they will send her another girl to replace her. Vasilisa assumed that the lady meant the maid of honor, and that meant that the rest of the training would be done by a new girl. In general, she liked the time when no one paid any attention to her. Then she thought that she just needed to escape from the country because she was doomed anyway. If it weren't for the diary, if it weren't for her thirst for revenge, it would all be different. The lady told her not to worry too much because this girl is very kind and responsive. Vasilisa was shocked with you that she did not feel sorry to send such a good girl to her. The chosen maid of honor will have to serve her until death, and she will not be able to do anything about it. The best of the best will go to the princess. Of course, she is indebted to the fourth principle, but at the same time, she is the daughter of her former friend. Good is not done without a reason. This woman looking at her remembers her mother. The Duchess remarked that perhaps this girl might not be good enough, and for her, if she caused her any inconvenience, she should not hesitate to tell her about it. Vasilisa was sure that this girl was simply a wonderful person. The Duchess hoped that she would get along with her, and was sure that she had made a mistake in her choice. Vasilisa thought about how ideal the person she wanted to introduce to her was. She only does this to avoid upsetting Amor, and that's all she cares about. The vacation was over, and it was time to get back to work. Lee was in perfect health. He was absent for a few days, as he needed to resolve some work issues with Dane. Vasilisa asked why his shoes were so dirty, but the knight didn't even know what to answer her. Vasilisa said that he could wipe it with a handkerchief. The knight asked the princess if she knew what it meant to give someone one's handkerchief. Vasilisa said no. Soleil said that it meant that the person she was giving it to was her lover. This is how it is in the kingdom of Walter, but the princess said that they are in the empire. That's why she was embarrassed. The gentleman also reported that a man from the palace of the fourth prince came. Amer gave her this. The lady was surprised when she saw the necklace and did not understand why he gave it to her. She doesn't like jewelry. She remembered that she was wearing a pendant that the Knight of Lay had given her. She has been wearing it for quite some time now and doesn't want to take it off, so she decided to put this pendant on her hand and asked the knight how he liked the idea. Vasilisa is already so tired. It's difficult for her to work after such a break. She didn't understand what all this was and thought that they were doing a general cleaning, but now was not the time to change the interior. The woman screamed that the flowers there were not aligned, and she could not believe that this woman was here. She said that the angle on that side was completely wrong, and the maids immediately apologized to her. This girl was familiar to her, and she couldn't believe that it was really her. They finally finished, and Fenna told the princess to be careful on her way home. If someone calls her to the training ground again, for example, that bastard Sorix, then she should just report him immediately. The lady was shocked with you that they were not colleagues, and the man told I that he does not work with such ignorant fools as these patrolmen, because they are just insignificant insects. Vasilisa understood him and said that they would see each other the next day. Lay wasn't there, so it seemed he was busy. She and Dane seemed to be doing something a bit lately, so she decided to check the diary to see if there were any new entries. 825. The 7th day of the month of Helios. The weather was clear on days like these. You really want to go for a walk and look at the capital. However, this is most likely not destined to come true because she is a princess, and she was told that she was brought to arrive after dinner, and I wonder who she is and whether they will be able to become friends at all. It seemed there were no deaths planned for today, so the lady decided that there was nothing special and closed it. That's what she thought. But I didn't understand at all why she was here now. It was the girl who greeted Her Highness. Her name is Rebecca Eileen von Aventa. She is the daughter of the Duke of Aventa. She is the only daughter of their family, the villain of the book, who passionately loved her tyrant brother Casters. The lady asked why she was there, and the girl was surprised by this, and said that her mother had sent her to become her maid of honor, and that this was obvious. Vasilisa was shocked with you that the Duchess actually decided to make her only daughter her maid of honor. She doesn't even hide her displeasure. This place is clearly not for her. Rebecca thought that it did not suit her, and the lady was immediately surprised and said that it was not so. Rebecca is the same name as the fire nymph. That was the first time she sympathized with a negative character. Even a villain would seem pathetic, and a victim next to a psycho like Castor. It's unlikely that they'll ever meet. After all, she doesn't know when the crown prince will decide to show up here. She is very different from what was said about her, and she waited until the last minute. Lately, this has irritated her, so she asked the princess to speak louder and pointed out that this meant that she was the daughter of that very empress. Her mother was clearly out of her mind. She seems to be chatting a lot today. Rebecca remarked that she is a noble flower of the empire, admired by all women, and she should be more confident when she talks to someone. Vasilisa asked for forgiveness because she had not shown herself in the best light, but she did not even know what to do now. The empire's founding day celebration is coming soon. It will take place before her coming-of-age ceremony, and it is on this day that Rebecca will meet Castor and fall in love with him at first sight. Castor will consider her attention too intrusive, and the girl's feelings will remain unrequited, and she will take the path of evil and self-destruction. And after the appearance of the main character, her tragic death will happen. She would never have thought that she would become her maid of honor. The lady asked her if she had come here because of her first brother. Rebecca thought she was talking about the crown prince. The lady noticed that she was talking about her older brother, who sometimes visited her palace, and thought she liked him. Rebecca had no idea what she was talking about, because she hadn't even seen his face, and didn't understand how she could like him. According to the plot, Duke Aventa loved and looked after his daughter very much. At that time, she was almost never allowed outside without adult supervision, which means that she had not yet fallen in love. She empathized with the villain so much when she read the book that even her death caused her deep sympathy, and she understands her feelings. If it does continue, she will fall in love and die at the hands of her beloved tyrant, and her father, driven by revenge, will become a traitor. Vasilisa does not understand at all what the meaning of such a life is. She asked if the girl said that her name was Rebecca. From this moment on, she becomes her maid of honor. She will always be next to her and will not go anywhere. Rebecca is a villain who puts poison in the main character's food because of her uncontrollable jealousy. She doesn't want to ruin her life because of this man, because it was so sad. Therefore, the lady immediately decided to invite her to become friends. She will make sure that she is only on her side, and she will love the princess more than this bastard. Vasilisa asked her to take care of her. She would never fall in love with him. Vasilisa thought about what she needed for Rebecca to choose her side. Amor. When he learned that Lady Aventa had been appointed her maid of honor, Vasilisa confirmed this. It was all so unexpected, and it seems that the lady herself is not happy about it. Definitely not happy. Amor believed that the Duke and Duchess could not simply abandon their daughter. As expected, her brother thought the same. Therefore, the lady assumed that they had some hidden intentions. That may be so. First of all, she is a princess who will soon come of age. It is known that she receives the attention of the crown prince, and there are rumors that he personally visited her palace. Now the lady understood how people had perceived his visit on the 10th day of the month of Habermayas. Vasilisa asked if he was serious about this, and noted that she didn't know what the Duke and Duchess were thinking, but it seemed like a great opportunity. Amor decided to ask what she meant by this. Vasilisa wanted to win Lady over to her side. She noted that it would be nice if he helped her. Not even that she just wants and asks him to help her. Amor believed that first she needed to tell him everything, and when he had already listened to everything he asked in all seriousness, if she hoped that he would participate in something like this. Vasilisa said that this was exactly the case, and when she saw his face, she began to think that it was too impudent on her part. She had to bring him something that he liked, but suddenly the prince said that he would fulfill her request. He didn't understand at all what kind of expression she had on her face. Vasilisa noticed that she was simply standing there in shock that he had somehow agreed too quickly. Well, if she doesn't want to, then he can refuse. Vasilisa immediately began to deny it and thanked her brother. Amor said that there was no need to thank him so much, because it was not that difficult. He asked the 8th princess what she wanted to do. For some reason, it sounded as if she had some other hidden motives, besides wanting to win the girl over to her side. At first, Vasilisa thought she just wanted to survive, but now she wants to see someone go down. Since the villain remained next to her, she has two options: fight or just live. The maid turned to the princess and said that this was a gift to her on her last birthday, and this was a gift from the seventh prince, which he gave to her the year before last. That's why he asked her which dress she would prefer to wear. Vasilisa thinks that Rebecca will tell her to throw them both away. So she will put this on the two wide places they will fix with pins. The maid turned to the princess and said that the last time she did this, her maid of honor was very unhappy. The maid didn't even know what to do with the princess, but she said that she would quickly fix everything and bring it. It had been 2 weeks since Rebecca had arrived, and all she had heard from her was lectures. She said that her dresses were already out of fashion, so she must buy new ones, because she wanted her peers to treat her mistress with disdain. Vasilisa needs to get closer to her, but she is not sure if she will ever be able to truly do this, so she decided to look in the diary. 825. The 21st day of the month of Helios, Vasilisa went into the garden with her maid of honor, and there they saw huge dogs. Then one of them attacked the lady-in-waiting, and she died from multiple bites. So everything is correct, and she must stay close to her. Otherwise she will die. This can't be changed. The diary says maid of honor without any further details. This means that no matter who takes the place of her lady-in-waiting, she must die just like her maids who died on the 10th of the month of Haber-Maya. And after all this, Rebecca will still die, and so early. The 21st of the month of Helios. Oddly enough it is today, and the lady is already ready for it. The lady asked Lay not to follow them, and stood where she said. The knight was surprised, when he heard later, that he should stand in this place, but the lady told him not to ask about anything, and to move away. There are rumors that she is stupid. It doesn't really sound like a lie. Now she looks like a member of the imperial family, but even so, she will never acknowledge her as her mistress. When she was little, some people told her that she was disgusting. They were shocked with you that this is the face of the most beautiful flower of the empire. Although she is a member of the imperial family, but with such a defect she is of no use. So he asks her to take him on her side. If there is at least one person who will take her side in any situation, then she will not be so lonely. Now she needs support from more than just Dane and Fleon. The lady noticed that it was beautiful and told Rebecca that she liked her, so she put a flower on her head. She noted that she could call her simply by her name. She told the lady to take this flower because she could not accept such a valuable and meaningful gift. Instead, she would rather make the male even more beautiful. And then she did not have time to agree because they had already heard these dogs. The woman asked the princess if these dogs were monsters, and the lady was glad that the monsters from the diary's prediction had finally appeared. Vasilisa asked the girl to freeze and listen to her carefully, because she had to climb the tree. The lady took the stone in her hands and told her to run on the count of 3. Then Rebecca started running. It was too fast, so the lady decided to cover it with herself. The dog bit the princess, but was immediately grabbed by the plant. This was how it was intended. The lady was shocked that this was possible, and Amor said from his room that this was possible because he was a priest of the earth and plants. Rebecca cried and asked if the princess was really okay. Even though Amor showed up a little later than she expected, she was still pleased with the situation and also grateful to her knight. Rebecca did not understand at all why the lady saved her and thought that she was probably scared too. Vasilisa decided that her maid of honor should not die here, although she has a brother, the best knight who controls plants. Well, she might still die even if she uses it. So then the lady decided that she could come back again that day. Rebecca cried and thanked the lady very much. Vasilisa did not want her to die, and it is good that she did not fall into the trap of fate as she did. The girl asked that the lady, will you not do so? Cast her now, in order to get to him. She does not mind dying countless times, because from now on she is not afraid to lose. Vasilisa decided that she would save everyone, even if she had to die in return. Castor believed that Vasilisa was thinking about him too, and he thought about the fact that very soon she too would find out the whole truth. Rebecca thought about her mother's words about her becoming a lady-in-waiting. She was born into a duke's family, so she knew that it would be like that period. She had no freedom. Even though her parents love her, she will still have to marry whoever they choose. She said that if it continued, she would be engaged to the crown prince. This is unacceptable, so she must become a maid of honor to the princess and live as she wants. It was unexpected, but on the other hand, she thought that living the way she wanted was probably worth it. No matter how she looked at it, she had to go, and because of the rumors, she was already disappointed in the princess. To become a lady-in-waiting to such a useless person, she would just have to look after her, and it would all be over. But in reality, there was a lot that she needed to be taught. However, she did not understand at all how the princess could remain so calm, and why she covered her with herself without thinkings. Just a little more, and then she would definitely be dead. Although she has many questions, she has learned to repay kindness, so from now on this girl is her mistress. If so, then she will make her the best of the best, and she swears on her part that she will do it. Vasilisa understood that she would have another scar. Because of the guard's bite, she had developed some kind of illness. During this time, Dane and Lee came to her, and Fleon also came. Apparently Amer sent her a letter. As unpleasant as it was, it seemed that Hernan was here too. In any case, now that she had recovered, she could return to her peaceful, everyday life for a while longer. Rebecca told her that she didn't have time to relax, because she had to choose a partner. The lady was surprised by this. The girl told her that in 3 months was the day of the foundation of the empire, and it is customary to go to such events in pairs. The princess is obliged to be there as the only flower of the empire, and the one who will become her partner is called a patronus. With him, she must perform the first dance, which marks the beginning of the holiday. Vasilisa asked if this dance was really that important, and the girl pointed out that it was obvious. Vasilisa decided to find out what benefit there would be if she went there, and she wondered if it would be possible to understand the political situation or the distribution of power among the nobility. Rebecca said that this is true because the princess is actually the main character of the holiday. Vasilisa was completely sure that she would be the main character. Her maid of honor was shocked that she didn't even know about it. The Foundation Festival is a festival that began with the love between the first emperors and the chief deity. The dance that opens the festival may only be performed by the most senior women of the royal family. Vasilisa must create a new fashion trend at this festival, and it will become the most widespread in the capital.